What's up everyone, welcome back to another What If video. So, this video is going to be combining two concepts that I get asked to cover a lot. One of them revolves around the fact if Bardock and Gine somehow survived. And the other concept, well, I'll keep that a secret until the middle of the video. But, I'll tell you now, it's something that a lot of people have asked to see. So really this is kind of two what ifs in one. Fitting for a 75k special. Thank you by the way. I'm surprised we got to 75k subs so fast. And I guess that means the next goal is 100k. But in all seriousness, thank you guys. So as a thanks, I hope you can all enjoy this special video. Let's set a like goal of 3,000 likes, and I'll continue this series once we hit that. But first, let's actually get into the scenario. We begin on Planet Vegeta, around the time that Bardock and Gine sent Kakarot to Earth. Not too long from now, Frieza is about to attack, planning on destroying Planet Vegeta. Bardock can already tell, something bad is about to happen. But he's kinda torn, should he stay and fight, or should he and Gine abandon the planet? Joining Kakarot by going to Earth, he begins thinking, and he prepares 2 space pods just in case. He doesn't plan to go to Earth right away, because if it turns out that Frieza notices him and Gine leaving, he doesn't want Kakarot to be in danger as well. So, these ships have a course set to some random low-level planet that Frieza probably won't notice. Once Bardock and Gine escape, they'll go to that planet. And if they're fortunate enough to make it there alive, then after that, they'll know Frieza's not on their backs and then they can go to Earth and get Kakarot, followed by them finding Raditz. It seems like a good plan, right? There will be an issue that pops up later. Not too long after, Frieza attacks Planet Vegeta. Bardock wants to fight back. He feels it's cowardly to just escape now and not try and make a resistance. But really, he knows there's nothing he can do. No matter how hard he tries, Planet Vegeta is doomed. And he's been thinking, running away is the smart choice. He curses that he even has to do this, but it's good that he and Gine prepared. As the planet is destroyed, he and Gine get on their space pods, heading towards a randomly selected planet, hoping that they somehow aren't spotted by the Frieza force. From space, they watch as their planet is destroyed, with everyone on it dead. This is obviously a very stressful and sad moment for them, and Bardock's rage towards Frieza builds up. He promises, one day, he'll be strong enough to defeat Frieza. He'll be strong enough to avenge the Saiyans. With all the commotion of the planet being destroyed, Frieza's forces don't even notice that Bardock and Gine are escaping, because their space pods get camouflaged by the explosion, hurtling off into space towards some unknown planet. And here's where they face their first issue. After weeks, possibly months of travel, they begin approaching a planet, but they encounter some major turbulence. Their ships crash land. Thankfully they're both safe, but once they exit their ships, they notice some issues. The ships are damaged, with fuel leaking out and the electronics going down. This is bad. They might not be able to fly anymore, and even if they somehow could repair them, there's no fuel now. So, they begin looking for a place to find shelter in. They can't tell, is this planet uninhabited? Sure, they knew it was a low priority, but there's gotta be some form of life here, right? And eventually, they find an odd looking city, so it appears life does exist here. And as they walk in carrying their stuff, they're met with a bunch of aliens who notice the ship landing. Bardock and Gine introduce themselves, saying who they are and why they're here, looking for help. Thankfully, the species seems to be pretty welcoming. The species is a group of people called the Yardrats, with the planet itself also being called Yardrat. They don't know it, but this is a very good place for them to land. Although, they're going to be stuck here for quite some time, possibly forever. But the Yardrats are glad to help. They know of Frieza, and thankfully he's not here to attack the planet. This Bardock person apparently wants to oppose him, but he's not strong enough, and of course he's stranded on this planet. He can't even use his scouter because he doesn't want to be noticed. Fortunately, the Yardrats have some techniques that they could teach him. It seems this guy wants to pursue some training, and he could potentially be a very good student. Eventually, Bardock begins being trained by the Yardrats, for years, a couple decades actually. He and Gine stay on this planet, getting adjusted while Bardock trains. He learns some really interesting and powerful techniques, and thankfully, he and Gine are actually able to live a somewhat peaceful life. Sure, Kakarot and Raditz aren't here, but they could still live as a family in other ways. You'll see what I'm hinting at. Bardock even learns a technique called instant transmission, so it looks like he does have a way to escape off this planet. But the thing is, he can't sense Kakarot. Occasionally, he does sense some familiar powers around the universe clashing, involved in battles. As he learns to sense Ki, he senses an evil Ki which he assumes is Frieza. Occasionally, from the same planet it seems like, he also feels giant powers clashing. What planet could that be? He's not going to teleport there though because he doesn't know what's going on, but he takes note of this. Too bad he doesn't know what Raditz's Ki feels like, because otherwise he might be able to find him, Vegeta, and Nappa. Same for Kakarot as well. He can only hope for the best. But it's good to know this technique because if he ever needs to leave, he can. And with all his time here, he could pretty much learn everything that the Yardrats have to offer. But then, one day he senses something threatening. A really high power is approaching towards Yardrat quickly, but also fading out at the same time. The Yardrats are a bit nervous, but Bardock goes and checks it out, trying to figure out what's going on and ready to face this potential threat. He ends up in a somewhat remote area, and above him, he sees a ship approaching, and he's immediately concerned once he sees what the ship looks like. He can't really make it out from here, but it looks like the same kind of space pod he used to get here, and there's some sort of logo on the side. The ship eventually crashes into the ground, and he immediately knows what the logo is. It's the emblem of the Ginyu Force. His guard is up, and he's ready to fight. But then, the hatch on the pod opens. And what Bardock sees is way more shocking than any Ginyu Force member could be. It's someone that looks exactly like him. There's no way. Is this Kakarot? He's unconscious, it seems, injured. With his knowledge of spirit control, thankfully, he could heal. So nervously, he gives Kakarot a quick jolt of energy, bringing him back to consciousness and healing some of his wounds. He's assuming this is Kakarot, and he hopes he's not here for bad purposes. Goku wakes up, and at first, he assumes he's looking in a mirror. A guy is standing in front of him and he looks exactly the same. Kakarot immediately jumps out of the pod and jumps back, realizing this is another Saiyan, assuming it may be a threat. Both are confused, with Goku on high alert and Bardock not knowing what to say. He says one word, Kakarot, and Goku confirms that's him. But how does this guy know his name, and why does he look exactly like him? Bardock drops his guard, smirking. He introduces himself as Bardock, saying that he's Kakarot's father. There's no way. Goku doesn't even know where he is. And he's somehow on the same planet as the guy that claims to be his dad? Weren't Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta the only ones left? The two are speechless, but Bardock begins giving his backstory, explaining what happened. So, Goku explains what happened as well, also explaining that his name is Goku now. But I guess he's gonna have to get used to the Kakarot thing early on. He already knows that's his Saiyan name. Bardock's wondering, why is Kakarot injured? Well, it turns out he was hurt by Frieza. And Bardock's more amazed than confused. He somehow survived an encounter with Frieza? That's amazing. He never would have thought Kakarot would have been able to do that. Well, there's more than that. Kakarot says he actually defeated Frieza. Bardock then tries to sense Frieza's ki, and he can't anymore. Kakarot's telling the truth. He actually defeated Frieza. And that's not even the craziest part. Kakarot is a Super Saiyan. Bardock doesn't even know what to say. This is such huge news. His son is alive, he's a Super Saiyan, and he defeated Frieza. This is the best day of his life. But it does have one question though. Does Kakarot know anything about Raditz's whereabouts? Yeah, that's where it gets kinda awkward. Oh, so Raditz is dead. But Kakarot can explain. First of all, he technically wasn't the one who killed Raditz, that was Piccolo. Plus, Raditz attacked his planet. This was in self-defense if anything. It's kinda awkward to explain, but he even says if Bardock wants they could revive him later. And this is a shock to Bardock as well. There's so much that Goku needs to explain. Bardock tells him to grab onto his shoulder, using it in transmission to bring both of them to civilization. And there's actually something that Bardock forgot to tell Goku about. He was too wrapped up in all the stuff about Frieza that he didn't even realize. He barely got to tell Kakarot about why he's here and how he got here. Goku is amazed. He's surrounded by a bunch of aliens. And then, two human-looking people run out of a building, both female. This is going to be a weird family reunion. Who are these two people? Bardock introduces the two of them. Gine, Goku's mother, and a second woman named Ruda, who just so happens to be Goku's sister. He has a sister too? Yeah, this is kind of a bombshell. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. A lot, and I mean a lot of comments have been asking me, what if Goku had a sister? And we're going to introduce her here. We'll get more into her backstory, but considering Bardock and Gine have been on this planet for over 20 years, it's not unlikely that they have another kid. That's why she's even wearing Bardock's old armor, which was salvaged and repaired. So of course they're excited to meet Kakarot, and then they figure out what happened with him and why he's here. Gine's a bit saddened to hear that Raditz died, but she can understand why Goku had to defeat him. As for Ruda, she's only heard stories about both of her brothers. So it's amazing to see even one of them here. In terms of personality, I'd say she's a little bit like Gine and Bardock, a mix of them. And unlike Gine, she's actually a fighter, or at least wants to be. She's been training with some Yardrat techniques as well. I'd imagine her like a much more approachable version of Bardock, one who's a lot more friendly, something that she'd get from her mother. And while this is big news for them, it's also huge news for Goku. Yeah, he knew about Raditz of course, but it turns out the rest of his family's alive. And he has a younger sibling. I mean, none of them really know how to process any of this, but gradually over time, they'll get used to it. And Kakarot decides he's going to spend some time here, catching up with his family and also training. Bardock healed him before, which is kind of huge, and he wants to learn the kind of techniques that the Yardrats have. Also, he wants to learn how to go Super Saiyan at will, and he's going to need a lot more training for that. So, Goku joins in training with the Yardrats, with Bardock and Ruda as teachers. In terms of pure strength, Kakarot is way above both of them, but they have some crazy techniques. With all this training, Bardock of course knows spirit control. We saw that when he healed Goku, and of course when he used instant transmission. But spirit control does more than just that. I'm sure all of you have seen in the Dragon Ball Super manga by now. All the different kinds of stuff that Vegeta can do because of this. Spirit control allows you to duplicate yourself. It lets you change your size. You can teleport. There's so many things. Not to mention, it greatly increases your power overall. And of course, as we saw in one of the most recent chapters, Force Spirit Fission is the thing, where you can essentially take energy from someone and distribute it wherever you like. And it's a pretty overpowered technique when you think about it. Bardock essentially has mastery over this, and Ruda has some basic spirit control techniques and a few of the more advanced ones. So even though Goku is a lot stronger in terms of his pure strength, Bardock and Ruda's techniques far outclass Goku's. And yeah, they're not calling him Goku either, they stick with the Kakarot thing. It's just weird to use an Earthling name. It's great that they're all here. Bardock's pretty proud of his son, and they're not too concerned about the whole Raditz thing. Because first of all, according to Kakarot, they could bring him back somehow. And secondly, that's Raditz's own fault that he got killed. And Ruda actually gets along pretty well with her brother. Not only is it awesome to actually meet him, but their personalities work well together. At least this time his sibling isn't trying to kill him, and because of that alone, they're already better off than he was with Raditz. Hopefully he won't be like that when they revive him. Time passes, and back on Earth, we arrive at the point when Frieza and King Cold are returning. And of course, Trunks is there already, prepared to face off against them. As he goes Super Saiyan, out of nowhere, 4 people appear in front of him. One of them is Goku, but he's just confused. Who are the rest of these guys? How did they even get here? The Dragon team is watching nearby and they're very confused as well. And of course, Frieza and King Cold are pretty livid. Frieza recognizes Goku, and there's another Saiyan that looks just like him. This just ticks him off. But he's also a bit scared. 2 Super Saiyans. Crap. Goku takes over and fights against King Cold, while Bardock offers to fight against Frieza. Surely he can't match Frieza in terms of power, can he? Well, he doesn't need to. Goku and Trunks take on King Cold pretty easily. I mean, one of them's overkill as it is. But hey, Trunks likes fighting alongside him regardless. Ruda even joins in alongside Bardock to fight Frieza, mostly to just spectate and try and learn some stuff. Bardock tells her to watch closely. He begins attacking Frieza, and he is pretty strong, but he's not nearly on the level that Frieza is. Frieza's just amused by this. Does this guy think he could really stand up against him? Kakarot might have not killed Frieza before, but Bardock's gonna finish the job for him. Frieza then throws a punch at Bardock, and Bardock doesn't react at all. This guy must be stronger than Frieza thought he was. No matter though. He begins attacking more, but his punches start doing less and less to Bardock. He even launches a death beam, which just bounces right off Bardock's chest. And suddenly, he starts to feel a bit exhausted. It turns out this entire time, Bardock's been utilizing Force Spirit Fission. That took me like 5 takes to say, it's kind of a tongue twister. Thank God I actually got that right. Back to the fight though, Bardock's been using this and been draining Frieza's energy very slowly. Frieza is exhausted, he has no energy left. And he looks up and sees, above Bardock, he's been gathering all of Frieza's energy. He then draws it back down to him, focusing it into a massive blast. Using all of Frieza's stolen energy, Bardock launches a massive blast at Frieza that kills him. Bardock sees it as kind of poetic in a way. Frieza took everything from the Saiyans. So, as a nice plate of revenge, Bardock took everything from Frieza and used it against him, killing the Space Tyrant. Of course, Goku and Trunks had no problem taking on King Cold, but now everyone's confused. Trunks doesn't know who these 3 Saiyans are. Bardock, Gine, and Ruda don't know who anyone on Earth is. Goku doesn't know who Trunks is, and everyone else that's there is just completely stunned overall because they see Trunks and then they see these 3 other Saiyans. What's going on? Also, Goku basically teleported here. This one Saiyan defeated Frieza without even going to Super Saiyan, and then this other guy is a Super Saiyan as well. They're gonna need a lot of things explained to them. So, Goku decides to introduce everyone. And it takes a long time, but everyone eventually catches up to speed. This is pretty weird for Gohan too. He now has 2 extra grandparents and an aunt. Weird. But more confusing than that is this Trunks guy. And Trunks pulls Goku to the side to talk to him alone. He tells Goku his true identity, but Goku only, telling him about the androids and the heart virus. Also, he doesn't remember his mom mentioning anything about Goku having an extra family. That's a pretty important detail to leave out. It gets him kind of worried. Did she forget about it? Did she purposely leave it out for a reason? Or, worst case scenario, Goku never did have his extra family here, and this place he traveled to isn't the same as his main timeline. He hopes that's not the case, but he's gonna have to ask Bulma about it. Everyone thanks him and he returns back to his timeline, hoping for the best. He'll be back in 3 years to make sure everything's okay with the androids. Okay, but more importantly than the androids right now, there's 3 extra Saiyans on Earth, 2 of whom are fighters. Once we go into the android saga, things are about to get really interesting, but we'll save that for the next part. Bardock is immediately intrigued. He sees that Vegeta's there. Ah, the prince, the person that Raditz was with. He heard Kakarot mention him, but it's weird actually seeing him here. And the weirdness goes both ways, because Vegeta looks at Bardock with confusion. How is he so strong? Sure, for Kakarot or that other guy that just showed up, they're Super Saiyans, but Bardock didn't even transform. Also, he looks just like Kakarot. And the sister bears some sort of resemblance as well. Great, more clowns like him. Just what Vegeta wanted. Bardock goes up to Vegeta and just thanks him. You know, showing Raditz the ropes and helping him survive against Frieza. Vegeta's just angered by this, feeling he's being patronized. He asks what Bardock just did to kill Frieza. How is he so strong? And Bardock reveals what he just did. Force Spirit Fission. And explains what it does. It took him a while to get it, and now that he actually used it in a fight, he doesn't feel like using it too much anymore. Sure, in dire situations it'll come in handy, but after all that time training to kill Frieza, the victory feels a little bit hollow. He quite literally didn't beat him with his own strength, he instead beat Frieza with Frieza's strength. But don't get him wrong here, Bardock is very strong regardless, Spirit Fission or not. Bardock also meets Piccolo, surprised to see a Namekian here. He even questions Piccolo, he's the guy who killed Raditz, right? Piccolo awkwardly says yes, but Bardock just laughs. Not the reaction Piccolo was expecting. He could tell this Namekian is no pushover, but he doesn't care too much because they're about to revive Raditz. Wait, what did Bardock just say? Yeah, they want to revive Raditz. Kakarot said they could. Oh yeah, Goku remembers he promised that. It shouldn't really be an issue, Raditz is no threat. Especially with Bardock and Gine here, he's probably going to warm up to everyone. But one other person that this is very weird for is Gohan. Not only is Raditz coming back, you know, the guy who kidnapped him, but he now has 2 extra grandparents and an aunt. Gine and Ruda are pretty happy to meet everyone, especially Gohan. And while Bardock seems like a stereotypical Saiyan, everyone's amazed at how un-Saiyan-like Ruda and Gine are. Well, not so much Ruda, more so Gine. Anywho, just as promised, they get the Dragon Radar and Raditz is revived, and everyone's there to see what happens. Raditz is actually back, and once again more confusion ensues. His parents are here, Kakarot's here. There's Vegeta, the Namekian that killed him, and the kid that he kidnapped. Oh, and some random Saiyan girl. What the heck happened while he died? He gets whiplash by hearing all the info he gets. There is so much to process. And the thing about him right now is he's not too sure how to feel about everyone. Of course he's on good terms with Bardock and Gine, but he's not really too sure how to feel about Kakarot and Ruda right now. Kakarot for obvious reasons because of their bad blood before, and although he doesn't really know Ruda, it's just weird, and some of his opinion on Kakarot rubs off on her. Oh yeah, he's pretty mad at Vegeta too for not reviving him before. Also, Piccolo killed him. Raditz is just not in a good mood right now, even though he's alive again. It's gonna take some time getting him to warm up to everyone. Bardock ends up hanging up his Yardrat clothes, saving them as a keepsake. He did what he wanted and he feels happy about it, despite him wishing that he could have done it with his own strength. It only feels fitting to retire the Yardrat clothes and go back to his normal clothes. And since he gets his normal clothes back, Ruda also gets a change of clothes. Well, a little bit. You can see with this new design I took some inspiration from her old one, and added a few things. The blue bandana, well it's actually a belt that's Goku's, but to emulate Bardock she keeps it as a bandana instead. Her new clothes are now more Earth-like. Well, kinda. And just from her design alone, you could tell, she really looks up to Kakarot and Bardock. Not so much Raditz, he seems like kind of a loose cannon, but she still hopes to get on Raditz's good side. They do kinda understand why he's bitter, but it seems like it's gonna be a long process to get him to see the light. And of course, over the next few years, everyone tries to follow Kakarot to get Super Saiyan. So for Raditz, sadly he's too far behind and can't reach it yet, and he also doesn't really want to train with Kakarot too much. He has to warm up to him. He still does get stronger, training mostly with Bardock, who's also trying to talk some sense into him. Raditz is basically isolating himself from everyone, not just social distancing. I mean he's basically just avoiding everyone. This may cause some issues. He's a bit of an anti-hero now, kinda like Vegeta, but with much different motives and reasons for being this way. Anyways, over this course of time, it's safe to say people like Bardock and Ruda will get Super Saiyan. They've had so much training on Yardrat beforehand, they're experienced fighters after all. Kakarot's already basically learned how to do it on command, so he shows them as well. It takes some time, but they all learn it, with Vegeta still off on his own like normal. He still kinda excludes himself like Raditz does, but in a different way. And on his own, he ends up unlocking Super Saiyan. One way or another, he'll surpass that family of Kakarots. He just knows it. Let's actually talk about powers now. Goku would still be the strongest, probably stronger than before because he got better training on Yardrat. Behind him is Bardock and then Ruda, with a decently large gap between the two. Behind that is Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo. After all his training, Raditz is about on the level of the humans, who are all around the same strength, because Raditz did start at a much lower level, and excluded himself. He's still not really too sure where he fits in, and we'll see more of this as the series goes on. Anywho, the 3 years pass and the androids attack, specifically 19 and 20 like normal. Goku tries to fight 19 first, but too bad for my man because he gets hit by the heart virus. Look at this guy, he didn't take his medicine. What a chump. No issue though, because Vegeta steps in and shows how cool he is with his new Super Saiyan form, killing Android 19. Bardock kinda just laughs at this because it's not too impressive. And once Gero sees that there's 3 Super Saiyans here and a bunch of other strong people, he realizes he's boned, and immediately tries to escape back to his lab. Thankfully, he's able to distract them and get there, activating Androids 17 and 18. His creations, they're so great. He commands them to go find that group and kill them. They don't listen, they kill Gero instead. And they see some pod labeled as number 16. Cool, another android. They activate him and exit the lab. But as soon as they do, they encounter the Dragon team who is searching for them, plus Trunks who's here now. And Trunks realizes, oh crap, these are the androids from his timeline. And they have an extra person, not good. Cocky as ever, Vegeta still tries to fight 17 and 18, and he gets absolutely demolished. Oh yeah, this seems pretty bad. Bardock, Ruda, and Trunks jump in, but similarly, they can't do much. The androids are far too powerful, and this concerns all of them. As a last resort, Bardock tries his Force Spirit Fission, trying to take their energy somehow, but he has a terrifying realization: it doesn't work. Not only can they not sense the androids, but Bardock can't even disable them using his technique, or Ruda for that matter. It seems like they're absolutely screwed, but thankfully, the androids do spare them. They're looking for Goku now, so they leave everyone there injured, and 18 gives Krillin a kiss. Weird, but you know my boy Krillin, he likes it. And the androids head off, ready to cause more havoc. The next few parts of this arc continue somewhat normally. Piccolo goes to the lookout and he fuses with Kami. This new increase in power should let him face the androids, but it's going to be kind of tough finding them. And like normal, he encounters Cell. All the while, Goku eventually wakes up, with Gine and Chi-Chi trying to help him. They were the ones actually watching over him this whole time, and they're glad that he's finally back to consciousness. Things continue to go the same up until the point where Goku suggests the Room of Spirit and Time. This is when stuff starts to change more. He realizes that if everyone uses this room, they'll be able to get stronger in a much shorter period of time, and the androids won't be any problem. So who ends up going in first? Well, Bardock volunteers, and asks Raditz to come in with him. Raditz is a bit of a weakling right now, and he's gonna whip him into shape, also trying to talk some sense into him. Vegeta really wanted to take Trunks in first, but Bardock took the opportunity before him. The two are still being very petty towards each other, a lot of times passive aggressive. Vegeta begrudgingly accepts this, and in the meantime he'll train with Trunks on the lookout. In the Room of Spirit and Time, Bardock finally has an opportunity to talk with Raditz. He wants to know, why is Raditz being so moody? It's the reason he's so weak right now. Raditz is surprised that Bardock doesn't understand. Kakarot, he's so un-Saiyan-like. Raditz is just disgusted by the thought of it. Sure, he's not a weakling anymore, but where is that Saiyan pride? How could one be like Kakarot? Plus, a big part that he feels this way is because of the bad blood they had before. Bardock needs to put some sense into it. He tells Raditz plain and simple, just shut up. The whole Saiyan pride thing makes no sense anymore. All the Saiyans are dead because of the way they lived. Kakarot's doing something right, that's why he's so strong. And he's having a good life while he's doing it. Plus, in terms of the whole fight they had, it was Raditz's fault. He knows all about how Raditz tried to recruit Kakarot. It was just a stupid plan overall. If anything, Raditz is going against how the Saiyans should be. They should stick with each other. That's the whole reason they were able to defeat Frieza. Camaraderie and power is what will keep the Saiyan race alive, albeit just the spirit of it. And Raditz needs to get that in his head. Of course, this is the Spark Notes version of the talk. Bardock's talk is much more detailed and personal, and it actually sticks with Raditz. His father's right. He shouldn't be focused on a petty feud with his brother from years ago. He could probably learn a thing or two from Kakarot. But anywho, there's still the problem of Vegeta. And Bardock understands why Raditz is bitter about that. After everything he did with Vegeta and Nappa, they didn't even consider reviving him. Had Bardock not come to Earth, Raditz would have remained dead. Vegeta wasn't concerned about him at all. And you know what? Bardock understands this, and he tells Raditz, if there's one way he wants to get back at Vegeta, it's to surpass him. This is all the motivation Raditz needs. Catching up with Kakarot, surpassing Vegeta, and amending his relationship with his brother and even Ruda. Going forward, Raditz is going to try to better himself. With the help of Bardock and Gine, of course. Now, let's go back to the outside of the Room of Spirit and Time. Ruda isn't too sure what to do, but she sticks with Goku and Gohan, trying to monitor the situation with Piccolo, because from what they can tell, he encountered the androids at Kame House. The humans were there as well, but they're not joining in the fight. They could sense Piccolo's on the move, and his power is increasing. He's definitely fighting someone, but they can't sense who. Of course, he's facing off against Android 17. Gohan and Ruda both want to go down to help, but Goku says Piccolo will be fine. He hopes. Piccolo's pretty much at a stalemate with 17, and although Piccolo's strong, they can tell he's at his limits and he can't go much further. Ruda turns to her brother and says that she's leaving. She wants to help Piccolo and says that she'll be okay. Goku tries to stop her, but she has instant transmission, and it's kinda hard to stop someone that could teleport. Goku's concerned, but he remains up here with Gohan. If worst comes to worst, he'll go down there too. In the middle of Piccolo and 17's fight, Ruda joins, jumping into Super Saiyan. She's not much stronger than before, but maybe with the extra muscle, Piccolo can defeat 17. Piccolo wishes that she didn't come down here, but there's no point in worrying about it now. He just hopes for the best. 17's fine with it too. A 2-on-1, he can handle that. This is light work for him. All the while, Cell is monitoring the fight, waiting for a moment to strike. With an extra person now here, he's going to be more cautious, especially because he doesn't know who she is. While those two are distracted by 17, he jumps in, going to absorb 18 instead. 16 is caught by surprise, and he can't react quick enough. And everyone is distracted by their fight, and they look over to see what's happening. Cell has become semi-perfect. Piccolo curses. It's that same guy he saw before. Of course he would end up following them here. Cell then tries to go after Android 17, but 16 jumps in as a human shield, or I guess a robot shield, as he tries to face off against Cell. Piccolo does too, ironically trying to protect 17, the guy who he was just fighting. 16 tells 17 to leave, and Piccolo tells Ruda to get out of there. 17 tries to escape alone, but Ruda grabs his arm and then uses instant transmission, teleporting to a random city. And the second this happens, Goku decides that he's going to intervene, grabbing some senzu beans and jumping in. He arrives at the scene to find Ruda missing, as Piccolo and 16 face off against Cell, with Tenshinhan about to join in too. Goku meets Cell for the first time, saying that Cell just needs to wait a little longer and they'll be strong enough to fight him. He knows Cell wants a good fight, and he tells Cell that if he just waits a bit, he'll get that. He's confident about the Room of Spirit and Time, but now he's a little more concerned. 17 is rogue and he doesn't know where Ruda is. Goku brings Piccolo, 16, and Tenshinhan to the lookout, and now his goal is to try to find where Ruda went. He searches for her key, but he can't find her anywhere. Piccolo ensures that she's safe. She just teleported somewhere random. She must be trying to hide Android 17 so Cell can't get him, which admittedly is a pretty smart move. Goku agrees, this was the right move, but he can't deny he's still concerned. He knows well by now, Ruda's a smart fighter and knows what she's doing, but he can't help but feel that she's a little rash sometimes when it comes to decision making, especially considering how little real-world experience she has. She hasn't been in many real fights. Really, he's just looking out for his younger sister, but he hopes for the best. On the bright side, Bardock might be done with his training soon, so he and Raditz are about to show up. Meanwhile, back on the surface, Ruda's in a random location with 17, in the middle of a big city. Since Cell might be able to sense their energies on the lookout, with so many people there, she decided it would be better to take 17 somewhere else instead of up there. Because if she took him up there, Cell would just come up, kill everyone, and absorb 17. Maybe not in that order, but something like that would happen. Although what she doesn't know is that Cell is leaving the lookout off limits. Since Goku is up there and now Cell knows that Goku and pals are training, but it's still not worth the risk. He could have gone up there any time and gotten 17. So that's why he and Ruda are here now. She explains all this to him and now they have to consider their options. Through their lack of communication, they think the lookout may be unsafe, since Cell can show up there. Bardock could help with spirit fission, but he's in the Room of Spirit and Time right now, and that's something Ruda isn't too experienced with. The good thing is that should work on Cell, since they can sense his energy unlike the androids, although it might be risky and they have to find an opening for it. Too bad she can't just do it herself. They'll have to wait for Bardock if he even can do that. So for now she's going to stick with 17, basically acting as his bodyguard, despite him being the stronger one. If Cell comes out of anywhere, she could just teleport him out of there. Basically a giant hide-and-seek game with Cell. And this shows exactly what Goku was concerned about with her. And although it isn't entirely her fault, she acted on impulse and is now stuck due to a lack of communication. And while I went over a lot of Ruda's personality in the last video, this is also another part of her that gives you a better understanding of what she's like. It's a character flaw that shows she has good intentions, but is still a flaw nonetheless. So for now, 17 and Ruda awkwardly stick together and try to lay low, while 17 also has to deal with the fact that his sister just got vored by Cell. Gross. Think of it kinda like how Shallot was with the androids in Dragon Ball Legends if you play that game. With Bardock and Raditz about to exit the Room of Spirit and Time, this is where we'll leave off for now. Just before Bardock and Raditz finish their training, Goku recruits Dende pretty much like normal, after bringing everyone to the lookout. 16 is also taken to be repaired by Bulma, but after a long year of training, Bardock and Raditz exit the Room of Spirit and Time. It's clear that this training was a huge help. Raditz has been really pushing his limits and so has Bardock. Raditz now even has Super Saiyan, and Bardock has attempted to go beyond Super Saiyan somehow. And with his great knowledge of ki control and spirit control, plus the fact that he's a really strategic fighter, it shouldn't be too hard for him to discover Super Saiyan Grade 4. He has pretty much all the qualifications. I mean, he's a brilliant scientist after all. I'm sorry, that joke was inevitable. Raditz puts his hand on Goku's shoulder and apologizes. Bardock helps him see that he was in the wrong. He's been very unfair to his brother, and he wants to change that. He promises Kakarot, though, he will remain ahead of Goku, as he is right now. This actually comes as a shock to Goku, but he's pleasantly surprised. His brother actually did surpass him, so did Bardock. As of now, Bardock is the strongest of the group, with Raditz trailing behind. He has an insane amount of motivation right now, and his training went very well. Everyone's glad to see this, except for Vegeta. He's pissed. Raditz even shoots him a smirk, and Vegeta's not going to take that too lightly. Goku was about to go in with Gohan, but Vegeta instead grabs Trunks and literally drags him into the Room of Spirit and Time. How rude! Well, even though Vegeta and Trunks are training, Bardock and Raditz feel pretty confident. They're caught up to speed about everything that happened so far, and they're a little concerned about Ruda, but in terms of Cell, they're feeling pretty good about fighting him now. This new evolution as Super Saiyan that they've accessed makes them feel very confident, and they want to give it a shot fighting against Cell, so they look around for his ki, and it turns out Cell is laying low as well. His ki is completely concealed. While they're at it, they also try to look for Ruda. Goku is very concerned. As we saw in the last part, he's a pretty protective brother, and he is worried about her, but Bardock assures him she'll be okay. Regardless though, they are going to look for her. It wouldn't hurt. As Goku and Gohan spar in the lookout, Bardock and Raditz remain calm and try to search wherever, concentrating very closely and looking for keys all around the world. Their two targets right now are Ruda and Cell. Thankfully, after a few hours or so, they sense Cell's energy briefly flare up when he attacks the city, and Bardock teleports there with Raditz. Back to Ruda, she's laying low with 17, and while she's disgusted to be even near him, she eventually gets a bit sympathetic. 17 is a villain, but she learns it's against his will. He didn't want to become like this. He was kidnapped by Gero alongside 18, who forcefully turned them into androids, programming them with the idea that they need to kill Goku. And now with 17 realizing that his sister's in danger, his own human thinking is overriding his directives from Gero. Why would he want to kill Goku in the first place? He has no motive to do that. Ruda's confused as to why he's telling her this. Well, she's not his target. And plus, after all the stress he went through when 18 got absorbed by Cell, he doesn't care anymore, he just wants Cell defeated. Ruda's also able to talk some sense to 17 after hearing about this, trying to get him to maintain this course of thinking. He's right, why should he waste his time trying to kill Kakarot? That's what Gero wanted, and he and 18 are supposed to hate Gero, and even with Gero gone, they have a common enemy now anyways. She's suddenly surprised when she senses something. Two familiar keys, but much more potent than normal. It's Bardock and Raditz. And near them she can sense Cell. Wait, are they planning to fight Cell? That doesn't really seem like a good idea, but then she remembers, Bardock has his Force Spirit Fission. And although she's not as practiced with it, she knows that Bardock might be able to do something with it, using it against Cell and saving Android 18. She even tells 17 this, and that makes him pretty happy. Although he is a bit confused at the moment, these people that he was just trying to kill are now helping save his sister, inadvertently or not. You know, maybe he might be able to turn things around. Meanwhile, let's go over to Bardock, Raditz, and Cell. Cell sees Bardock. Is that Goku? Remember, Cell's not familiar with Bardock because Bardock didn't exist in Cell's timeline as far as he's concerned. Well, he existed, but Cell doesn't know who the hell this guy is. Assuming it's Goku. What a weird outfit, but he does vaguely know Raditz. Perfect, now he gets to kill Goku and his brother. Bardock interrupts. He's sorry to break it to Cell, but he's not Goku. Close though, he's Goku's father, Bardock, and he's ready to take down this weird looking bug man. Cell and Bardock both get ready, with Raditz also joining in. The three clash. And right now, both Bardock and Raditz surpass Cell in power. They have the advantage. And although Ruda expects him to use Spirit Fission, she's paying attention to the fight and it appears that Bardock isn't. This doesn't even occur to Bardock. It didn't work on the other android, so he just pushes it out of his mind now. But he then hears a voice that catches him off guard. It's Ruda talking to him in his mind. This leaves him open for an attack by Cell, but Bardock counters. First off, Ruda told him that she's fine. But also, she explains that the androids aren't willingly doing this, and she pleads for him to use Spirit Fission. Even though it feels cheap to Bardock, this seems like the easiest way to defeat Cell, and it means Android 18 survives. He does want a fair fight, but he's not going to be like Vegeta. He realizes the risk here, and he decides to swallow his pride, using Spirit Fission at the request of Ruda. Android 18 is freed from Cell, and Cell just doesn't know how to react. He reverts to his imperfect state. Now furious and confused, what was that? Wanting to land the final blow, Raditz jumps in, and with basically no effort at all, he's seemingly able to kill Cell. Sensing this, Ruda then teleports over with 17, feeling that everything's safe. They're surprised to see her, but glad. Although, not so glad to see Android 17. Mainly because he was the enemy, and Bardock's a bit suspicious. He was alone with his daughter for a few hours. He hopes nothing weird happened. Jokes aside, it all seems peaceful now. Goku even brings Gohan and they teleport there, with Goku wanting to make sure Ruda is okay. They're all celebrating the victory. Until a bright flash of light comes out of nowhere. Everyone is blinded. And in the commotion, 17 and 18 suddenly disappear. With everyone's vision restored, they slowly see a silhouette appear out of the light, and sends a huge spike in power. The figure becomes clearer. It's Cell, having fully transformed. He regenerated? Cell lifts his hand up and launches a blast at Bardock. With Ruda telling him to duck, Bardock narrowly avoids it, his hair getting singed in the process. Almost immediately, Cell flies over to the group. with his first target being Ruda. She meddled in his plans before, and he doesn't want her around. With a powerful swipe, he flings her far away, crashing to the ground nearby unconscious. Goku's watching and gets angrier by the second. First Bardock, now Ruda. He can't stand watching them getting hurt. In his anger, he charges at Cell, telling Cell to focus on him. He is Cell's target after all. But the thing is, Goku still hasn't trained. It isn't any match for Cell at this point. Cell easily blocks his attacks. And then, with one hit to the back, he knocks Goku down, unconscious. That was easy. Now he could finish off Goku. But then, Cell starts to feel a bit strange. It's the same feeling he felt before when Bardock used Spirit Fission. He looks over and sees, using her very limited knowledge of Spirit Fission, Ruda's trying to save 17 and 18 once more, but she's too weakened and inexperienced for something this advanced to work. A little bit annoyed, Cell lifts up his hand and incinerates the entire area. With Bardock and Goku injured on the ground, Raditz and Goku watch as Cell kills Ruda, effortlessly and without remorse. Blinded by rage, Gohan then jumps in and attacks Cell. While Raditz just stands there paralyzed, something snaps within him. Gohan tries to fight Cell but fails to do anything, but they're both distracted as they look behind them and see. Out of anger, Raditz's power increased once more. He has now become Super Saiyan 2. He immediately goes in to attack Cell, fighting alongside his nephew. It's an odd duo, and Gohan's kinda lagging behind, but they work effectively. Although, there's an issue. Even with a rage boosted Gohan and Super Saiyan 2 Raditz, there's still not enough to defeat Cell. They're just desperately trying to have a last stand. Nearby, Bardock begins to stand up, and he sees in front of him, Kakarot is on the ground unconscious and injured, and he can't sense Ruda anywhere. Close by, Raditz and Gohan are defending him against Cell. He recollects himself, slowly becoming less and less disoriented. He stumbles over to Kakarot and heals him. They're watching the battle go on, but they have a bad feeling deep in their stomach. They can't find Ruda anywhere, but Bardock remembers she should be close by to where Cell flung her to. And as the two look over, their stomachs immediately drop. Nothing is there besides a smoldering crater. They both know what it means. Raditz and Gohan struggle against Cell, but there's another burst of power. Together, Bardock and Goku attack. Bardock now in Super Saiyan 2. This is enough to turn the tide. Cell is on the defensive. He's being completely overwhelmed. Cell is being tossed around like a ragdoll. There's nothing he could do. He tries to brace himself somehow, but he can't. He's fighting against 4 Saiyans. Bardock wants to make Cell pay for what he's done, as do Raditz, Gohan, and Goku. They are not playing around here. Mid-fight, Bardock stretches his palm out towards Cell. Cell gags as both 18 and 17 are drawn out of him, and he forcibly reverts into his imperfect form. He screwed with the wrong family, as together, the 3 generations of Saiyans prepare to kill Cell, making sure he's erased for good this time, no regeneration. They launch a combined attack, as the massive beam of energy goes out into space. The second it hits Cell, he's completely incinerated. For good measure, they continue firing the beam, until they're absolutely sure that Cell is gone. They're victorious, but still, the mood is somber. They all walk over to the crater where Ruda was in, and they confirm there was no way she survived this. But it's not all bad. While they did react in impulse, they're now a little calmed down and realize she could always be revived. But the thing is, what are they going to do about those androids? Bardock only freed them out of instinct, realizing that it was the best way to defeat Cell. They don't seem like a threat now, so the 4 of them decide to leave the androids be. On the lookout, Vegeta and Trunks exit the Room of Spirit in time, ready to fight. Turns out they missed a lot, and although Vegeta was able to unlock Grade 4 by himself, it seems once again, Raditz stayed ahead. Although just barely. This only further cements their rivalry. They all gather their Dragon Balls, and they have 2 wishes due to the size of one of them. Their first wish, revive everyone killed by Cell. And out of his kindness, Shenron brings Ruda right to the lookout. He tells them to consider it a gift. They're all happy to have her back, but it turns out they have one more wish. Well, they shouldn't let it go to waste, so someone has to take it. Krillin decides he wants to wish for something, asking for Shenron to restore the androids to humans. He can't do that, but he can remove their bombs, which he ends up doing. Bulma found the bomb in Android 16, who actually gets to survive. But from this, they realize that Android 17 and 18 also had these bombs. We all know why Krillin did the wish though. And on the lookout, both 17 and 18 appear, as Krillin wish for their bombs to be removed. It's an awkward encounter as 18 sees Krillin, and 17 sees Ruda again. But deep down, they are grateful for it, and in a hurry, they fly off. Well, problem solved. The androids are no longer an issue, Cell is defeated, and Trunks is also stronger, so it seems he can go home and defeat the androids there. He thanks everyone and says goodbye. As he's sent back home, Vegeta's pretty proud of him, but a little mad that they didn't get to fight together. Plus, Raditz is now barely edging ahead of him in terms of power, and it seems that Kakarot's about to do the same, because he heads into the Room of Spirit in time with Gohan. They never got to go in, but the two of them want to spend some time bonding together, also trying to reach where Bardock and Raditz are in terms of power. I feel like they wouldn't be able to get Super Saiyan 2 until they at least master Super Saiyan, since Super Saiyan 2 is essentially just grade 5. That's why, even though they got angered against Cell, they didn't get Super Saiyan 2, because they were basically still on grade 1. But now with the knowledge of it, this is what they pursue, and they're able to obtain it within the Room of Spirit and Time, being able to utilize that anger they felt before. And similar to Vegeta and Bardock, Goku's proud of his son. He's very impressed. Seeing him fight against Cell made him happy, and it seems now he may have the potential to become the strongest warrior here. And after that, Ruda and Piccolo decide that they even want to train in there. Wanting to try and remain ahead of everyone, Bardock decides he could use another year in there. It wouldn't hurt, and it allows him to train Ruda and Piccolo, who wants to go in there with them. This way, she could try to ascend Super Saiyan, and also hone her spirit control more. Going forward, Vegeta will use this to motivate him. That clown Kakarot's family, even Raditz the weakling, they're all getting stronger than him. This will not sit well with Vegeta. Knowing Krillin, he's a dog, and he seeks out 18 like normal. I mean, come on, they had that scene earlier in this arc, and it's inevitable. Props to Krillin, because they start dating. Also, Gohan ends up meeting Videl after the few years pass. Good for him too. Everyone's getting some. Well, except for Yamcha. No need though. Yamcha is a pro athlete after all. I'm sure he's very popular. Well, I hope for his sake. And for Puar's sake. Just so Yamcha doesn't get too lonely. And like usual over this time, Goten is born, and Bardock's really happy about the resemblance. He wants to name this kid Bardock, or at least some traditional Saiyan name. And the second he's born, he says to Chi-Chi that she should name him Little Bardock. Bardock Jr., something like that. She snaps at him and says his name will be Goten. Bardock backs down, pretty scared. No wonder Kakarot married her. She's perfect for someone like him. Gine's been getting along well with Chi-Chi. And of course she'll help out with Goten. It's like raising Kakarot and Raditz all over again, except they're not going to have to send him to war. So maybe it isn't like that. Whatever. She and Bardock live near Goku's home. And although it's really odd, Ox King and Bardock would probably become pretty good friends. They're both the grandpas in the family, and their kids are married after all. It's an odd friendship, but I think it's a pretty cool one. And after all this time passes, thanks to Videl, they find out about the tournament. This will be a good opportunity to get everyone together again. You know, they should even contact Ruda for this. They haven't seen her in a while. Where has she been? I haven't discussed her at all. Well, let's rewind. So choosing this was pretty difficult, because I knew no matter who I picked, there would still be people against it. But I'm sure by now you all know where I'm leading to. After the Cell Saga, Android 16 decided that he was going to go join Android 17. Once the twins flew off the lookout, he went with them. But he was grateful for the group's help. So 16 still kept in contact, and through him, Ruda was able to find out. That Android 17 guy, he's on an island now. As the Ranger, she thought it would be pretty nice to visit him. So 16 helps her out. She's actually pretty interested in the island, and what 16 and 17 are doing. She really just wanted to check up on them. She was curious how 17 was doing after everything happened. This eventually snowballs more and more. And similar to what happened with Krillin and 18, Ruda actually ends up dating 17. I'm sure you guys saw this coming from a mile away. And honestly, I feel like this is the best choice. Some people suggested Vegeta, and that's partially my fault because I forgot to mention that Vegeta still did get with Bulma. And another popular suggestion was Yamcha, but I just don't see that happening. The personalities don't line up too well, and she barely had any interactions with him. Like I said, it's a case similar to Krillin and 18. And I think it's a pretty good ship. 17 is basically a clean slate at this point too. I mean, he's absent until Dragon Ball Super, which makes it even more convenient. And two funny things arise out of this. For one, this means Krillin is part of Goku's family now, as an in-law. Pretty fitting considering they're best friends. And number two, it's also kinda odd for Bardock and Goku. 17 did want to kill Goku after all. I mean, they could tell he's reformed now, but it's a bit of an adjustment. Besides, if 18 can turn good and get with Krillin, this should work. Bardock is more and more suspicious about what happened in that city. But anyway, that leads us to now. The World Tournament is here, with a different roster. Most of it remains the same, but there are some changes. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Videl, Krillin, Android 18, Android 17, Ruda, Bardock, Raditz, Spopovich, Yamu, Mr. Satan Piccolo, Shin, and who could forget? Kibita. Goten and Trunks can't even sneak in his Mighty Mask. Sucks for them. In the first round, Krillin ends up fighting 17, a match between brother-in-laws, but it's pretty obvious who wins this. It's weird because 18 doesn't know who to cheer on, but besides that fight, the next few go normal. I am so sorry, Videl. You all know what happens to her, I don't need to cover it in depth. I don't want her getting hurt. Sadly she does though. And so does Gohan later on once he gets stabbed by Yamu and Spopovich, draining his energy. Kibito ends up healing Gohan, and everyone has to chase down Spopovich and Yamu. But Bardock's then realizing he knows what just happened, they stole his energy, so he decides it wouldn't hurt if he took it back. Spopovich and Yamu don't even notice, but as they're flying away, Bardock takes their energy back, giving it to Gohan, which fully heals him. It turns out Kibito wasn't needed at all. Shin didn't even know he could do this. And this is actually better. It means they could still follow Spopovich and Yamu, but they don't actually have any energy that they're bringing to Babidi. This time, the same group goes and follows them. Except we have the addition of Bardock, Raditz, Ruda, and 17. A bit of a small army. Vegeta's a little upset. He was about to fight Kakarot, and he wanted to fight Bardock and Raditz too. He's been training over these 7 years, and he feels confident. Still angered about how they surpassed him, and kinda treated him with disrespect before. With these emotions brewing up in Vegeta, we'll leave off here. Following the Majin servants, the group is eventually able to arrive at Babidi's ship, and it's clear that Babidi is outmatched right now. The group watches carefully. They feel like they have an advantage right now, and they don't want to blow that. Babidi's crew, it's kinda weak compared to them, and just as Babidi is starting to realize, they didn't actually get any energy from anyone, since Bardock was able to steal it back. Smart move by him. Babidi is angered and panicking, and his best line of defense right now is Deborah. They call out the group, knowing that they're there watching. Babidi's gonna have to really use his magic to try and protect him right now. Deborah is able to coax the group out, and they're all prepared to fight him together. Just as everyone's about to attack together to kill Deborah, most of the group suddenly vanishes. In order to gather some energy and save Deborah, Babidi scattered everyone around. Some ended up inside the ship, some ended up back at the tournament, while Bardock, Kibito, and Piccolo are the ones left outside. While Bardock's group tries to fight Deborah, Goku's part of a group inside the ship, and they try to take everyone down inside. Ruda's easily able to kill Pui Pui, while Goku kills Yakon pretty much the same way he did in the canon story. They quickly keep heading down the ship, but it seems like they're not making any progress. As soon as they get to another level, they end up back at the same one they started at. Babidi is manipulating the ship, making it like an infinite ladder. Imagine that staircase in Mario 64, pretty much like that applied to this ship. For now, he's essentially just biding his time, trying to figure out what he can do to try and counter this. But after thinking for a bit, he ends up coming up with an idea. Get more servants! He searches around and finds 2 potential people he could possess. One is Vegeta, who's probably the easiest target for Babidi. With all the bad emotions bubbling up within him, Babidi can easily exploit him. He was one of the people teleported back to the tournament, alongside Raditz. And Raditz would most likely be another good target for Babidi. Just like the canon version of Vegeta, Raditz is a good person by now, but some of that malice still exists within him, and although it's a little bit harder than Vegeta, Babidi still can exploit that malice. First, he goes after Vegeta, easily being able to get into his mind and possess him. Everyone at the tournament watches in horror, as Vegeta screams in agony and begins transforming. After him, the same happens to Raditz, with Vegeta talking to him while it's happening. While people at the tournament are trying to talk to Raditz and help him, Vegeta instead is trying to encourage him. Not that he really needed the encouragement, Babidi is still able to possess him, and the two, once again, work together as malicious Saiyan allies. Just as Bardock is able to kill Deborah, his group and the one in the ship are teleported away. Babidi is actively teleporting everyone right now, just to annoy them and get the right matchups. This Bardock fellow is really strong. So is Goku, but he can't have 2 of them together at once. Bardock and Vegeta are teleported into a wasteland, with Raditz and Goku teleported to another one. Everyone else is sent to the World Tournament. Trying to figure out what happened, Vegeta's target right now is Bardock, while Raditz's target is Goku. Babidi carefully selected these matchups. He knew these 2 had a malice towards the other. Bardock versus Raditz wouldn't work, since Raditz would probably still have a soft spot for him. Goku versus Vegeta could have worked, but that leaves no one powerful enough to match Raditz. Everyone at the tournament is confused, but they quickly realize what's happening, and they realize they need to stop the fights. So, the best option right now is to split up. Piccolo, Kibito, and Gohan go to help Goku, while Shin, Ruda, and 17 go to help Bardock. Everyone else stays back at the tournament to make sure the spectators are safe. Vegeta begins the fight with a powerful attack, catching Bardock off guard. He wants Bardock to fight without using his spirit techniques, so they can make it fair. He's had enough of Bardock talking down to him. Vegeta has finally surpassed him in terms of power. Bardock's in a pretty hard spot here. If he draws out the fight by fighting normally, that means Babidi gets energy. But he's cautious, because if he tries to steal Vegeta's energy, Babidi may just steal it from him somehow once it's out of Vegeta. That would be the easiest way to defeat Vegeta, but there's more risk to it. So, Bardock sticks with a normal fight for now. Maybe, somehow, he could still knock Vegeta out. With both in Super Saiyan 2, they are around even. However, Vegeta has a slight edge, and Bardock is still holding back somewhat, trying not to give off more energy. And of course, the fight has only just begun, so Bardock's not going to be going full power right away. He needs to gauge Vegeta first. If Bardock's not going to go full power, Vegeta will force him to. He charges up a powerful final flash and launches it at Bardock. Bardock braces himself, also trying to use spirit control to see if he could divert the beam anyhow, but the beam ends up connecting with him. Or at least, it hit something. Just as soon as the fight started, someone's already intervened. Vegeta feels the beam connect and he laughs. But as the light dissipates, he sees something forming around Bardock. There's a green barrier of sorts. And Vegeta quickly realizes what just happened. Using instant transmission, Ruda teleported there with 17, looking to help. And 17 quickly threw up a barrier trying to help Bardock, with Ruda also throwing up a barrier of her own. It's a pretty useful technique that she picked up from 17. Bardock thanks him for helping, and he tells Vegeta flat out, they could fight some other time. He doesn't care about some petty duel now, they have bigger problems at hand. This only further angers Vegeta. Not only is Bardock refusing to fight, but he also has help now. In his anger, Vegeta tries to attack Shin, the weakest of the group. But once again, Ruda and 17 are able to work together, throwing up barriers to protect the Supreme Kai. This was a stupid move by Vegeta because it leaves him open for Bardock to attack, which Bardock takes the opportunity. And just as soon as Bardock attacks, 17 and Ruda attack too, also trying to encapsulate Vegeta in these barriers. Their combined power allows them to stop Vegeta, leaving him unconscious. This could have easily been prevented if Babidi teleported them out of there, so why didn't he? Well, this is what happens from Babidi splitting his attention. By separating the fights, this allowed the group to come up with a plan. When Gohan's group left to help Goku, they had Kibito teleport them to Goku's fight, and as soon as they got there, they told Kibito to teleport everyone, including Goku and Raditz, back to Babidi's ship. Just at the outside though. This put Babidi's guard up, as he watched the outside making sure they didn't get in, because that's what he thought was going to happen. He was too focused on that fight, and tried teleporting everyone away, which left Vegeta defenseless. All the while, Raditz still faces Goku, not distracted by the teleporting. He's set on killing his brother, as Goku tries to talk him out of it. Raditz seriously can't feel the need to kill him right now, right? Raditz doesn't care, and continues fighting his brother. This fight is also very even, except Raditz does have a slight advantage, but not enough to make a difference because Goku outshines him in terms of technique. Suddenly, Bardock's group teleports in, with a subdued and unconscious Vegeta trapped inside multiple barriers. Their group decides to go right for Babidi, as Piccolo and Gohan try to intervene helping Goku fight Raditz. Raditz has serious deja vu from this, not only because he's fighting the same people once more, but because he loses again. With Majin Raditz and Majin Vegeta unconscious, the group descends once again on Babidi, and all seems lost for him. Thinking on his feet, he quickly teleports next to the unconscious Vegeta and Raditz, breaking the barriers around them and then putting them in his own shield. With an energy draining device, he stabs both of them, taking all their energy and leaving them gravely injured, teleporting back into his ship. They're badly hurt, but their Majin Seal is gone. Babidi leaves them for dead, no longer having any use for them. But thankfully, Bardock, Kibito, and Ruda rush over to heal them. Good thing they have multiple healers on the team. Kibito does the job and tells the other two to save their energy. He has a bad feeling that they'll need as much as they can. Vegeta and Raditz wake up bitter, both disappointed in what they did, and having mixed feelings about the whole thing. They're also a little bit woozy right now. But they can't focus on that right now because Babidi is the main issue, and they suddenly sense a huge spike in power somewhere. It's too late. With this little bit of energy he stole from Vegeta and Raditz, Babidi was able to finish Boo's revival. And far away, they could sense Babidi sicking him on cities, killing people and destroying places as soon as he's awoken. Most of the group is terrified by Majin Boo's power, but Bardock feels like this is good. He has an idea. They had to stay away from taking energy before, but now, they're free to do whatever they want. Ruda realizes this too. And now that she actually has some control over her spirit fission, she and Bardock can work together to defeat Boo. So she and Bardock immediately teleport to the city where Boo is, with the rest of the group reluctantly following, ready to fight just in case. This is a risky move, but it seems like Bardock has a good plan. And just as soon as they get there, Raditz decides to launch a massive blast to kill Babidi, as payback and penance for his actions. Although, Boo easily blocks it, being controlled by Babidi. While it didn't have the intended effect of killing Babidi, it still worked as a distraction for Boo, leaving him open for Bardock to steal some of his energy. He and Ruda start taking Boo's energy, but Babidi is smart enough to see through this, and tells Boo to focus on attacking those two. He splits himself into multiple clones, just to hold the others off, and to attack Bardock and Ruda at the same time. They're slowly weakening the Majin, but then they suddenly begin to realize something. As they're trying to use spirit fission, they already sent someone within Boo. This is just like Cell before, they were able to separate the people within him, so maybe they can do the same to Boo. And it could weaken him. Coordinating, the two do this. Boo suddenly stops attacking everyone and starts feeling a weird feeling in his stomach. His stomach explodes open as two people fly out of him. Shin's jaw immediately drops to the floor. Bardock and Ruda just freed the Grand Supreme Kai and the South Supreme Kai, who were unconscious but quickly healed by Kibito. Bardock doesn't know what he just did and who these people are, but it seemed to weaken Boo, and he's starting to transform into something else. The two Kais are also pretty confused, but they see Shin, who's glad to see them and catches them up to speed. I mean, they have missed millions of years worth of events, but he catches them up about what's happening right now. He'll explain the rest later. Bobbity looks terrified as Boo begins transforming, slowly reverting into Kid Boo. Bobbity remembers that even Bibbidi had a hard time controlling Kid Boo, and it's probably going to be even harder for him. Bobbity tries to command him, but Kid Boo is angered by this, immediately turning around and incinerating Bobbity. The group watches in confusion, but the Kais all butt in and say what's happening. They've restored Fat Boo to Kid Boo, the incarnation of pure evil. He's completely unhinged and uncontrollable, and the group immediately sees what the Kais mean as Boo tries to blow up Earth. Thankfully, with so many fighters there, they're able to defend against it and outmaneuver Kid Boo. But they're shocked to see that he's not even holding back his power. Normally whenever they fight someone, they have to control their ki to a level so that they don't destroy Earth. But Kid Boo's not doing that at all. The Kais tell everyone to retreat, but the group is confident. They do overpower and outnumber Kid Boo after all. Ruda, wanting to take charge, is the first one to jump into attack, laying a hit on Kid Boo so she could slowly siphon energy from him without him noticing. Good thinking on her part. Goku and 17 join in to make sure she'll be fine, with Bardock and Raditz following. The rest of the group stays back to protect the Kais. Since Kid Boo might go after them, it's good to have powerhouses like Gohan and Vegeta protecting them. Also, they're protecting Earth in case Boo tries to blow it up again. Boo keeps regenerating from the attacks, but he also keeps weakening. Ruda's spirit fission is working. Boo isn't able to stop it or even take notice of it. But still, it's not enough. They're gonna need a really strong attack. So, Goku tells the rest of the group to hold Boo off, as he slowly flies back and lifts his hands up into the sky. Bardock, Ruda, 17, and Raditz hold off Boo, while everyone on the ground lifts their hands up, granting energy to Goku as he prepares a spirit bomb. The group fighting Boo leads him up into the sky, so Goku can aim upwards and not towards Earth. Boo notices the spirit bomb, but he doesn't care. And also he can't intervene because he's fighting 4 people right now. Those 4 fighters all lift their hands up and lend more energy to Goku. And while there's not a lot of people lending energy, a lot of the life on Earth is. The plants, the animal, the planet itself. The spirit bomb is charging slowly but surely, but it still needs one final push. Ruda, who's been stealing Boo's energy, lifts her arm up once more, lending all of her energy to the bomb, plus granting all the energy she siphoned from Boo, no longer concealing the fact that she's draining his energy. Angered, Boo decides to go after her specifically, but then crashes into something and is disoriented. He hit his head really bad on something, but as he recollects himself he sees 17 in front of Ruda, with a row of shields. 17 won't let Boo get to her. Angrily, Boo tries to smash the shields, but behind him, Bardock and Raditz then deliver kicks together, which sends Boo flying upwards into the sky. Running out of energy, Boo begins panting, somewhat panicked, and as a last resort, he charges up an attack once again and aims it towards Earth. But it's swallowed up into Goku's spirit bomb, as Ruda and Bardock try to redirect it. Goku yells out, the bomb is ready. Ironically, fueled by Boo's energy, he flings the bomb towards Boo, and Boo tries to push it back, but he can't. Everyone else helps Goku. They join in, pushing the spirit bomb, and Boo slowly starts to disintegrate. Everyone powers up to their maximum power, giving one final push. And it's more than enough. The bomb erases every bit of Boo, quickly flying off into space, careening out of the atmosphere, and then turning into a massive explosion that thankfully doesn't collide with any other body in the solar system. They don't want the moon to blow up again after all. Blue particles fall from the sky as remains of the spirit bomb, and the Kais look in astonishment. They thank Shin for his great work finding these people, but Shin tells him to thank the mortals. It's a shame that West and North Supreme Kai aren't alive, but they got payback at least, and 2 of the Kais got saved. Grand Supreme Kai uses magic to heal everyone instantly, even faster than the Yardrat students or Kibito could heal. To extend his gratitude, he offers to train any of these mortals if they'd like. Most of them do have families and responsibilities though, so all of them decline, but they thank him for his offer. Well, all but one of them decline. One of these fighters does not fall into that category. Grand Supreme Kai is surprised they didn't notice before. There's an Namekian on this planet. It's Piccolo, the one person to step up and take the offer. The Saiyans are so far ahead of him right now, and this may be the perfect opportunity to catch up. Plus, with Kami fused into him, he may as well pay respect to the gods and respect Kami's name. He's also able to tell they're 2 Kai short because 2 of the directions are missing. If they'd like, he could show them how to bring them back to life by leading them to Namek. They will definitely consider this. The invite is open, so anyone can come and train if they want, but they are still glad that Piccolo joined. This should be fun. The 4 Kais teleport away, thankful and happy, telling everyone they're grateful for what they did, with Piccolo also saying a temporary farewell to everyone. They teleport off to the sacred world of Kais. The Dragon team is able to gather the Dragon Balls and restore all the damage that's been done, and it's a shame they couldn't have a tournament, but they saved Earth, so it's all good. Everyone decides to return home. It's a little awkward for Vegeta, but he apologizes for his actions, as does Raditz. Funny enough, this is the first time Raditz and Vegeta work together in a while, and they shared the same experience, so hopefully they can bond over it somehow. Bardock, Raditz, Goku, and Gohan go home, joining Gine, Goten, Ox King, and Chi-Chi back at the house. Ruda and 17 return to Monster Island with 16, as Vegeta and the humans also go to their respective homes. The group says their temporary farewells, but of course, this isn't the last time they'll see each other. They're always in contact, and there's always more fights to be fought. There is a looming threat somewhere out there in space about to come to Earth, but with this temporary goodbye, we'll save that for the next part. A few years have passed since part 4. We open up on the world of Kais. Using Namek's Dragon Balls, every other Kai has been revived, and together, the 4 directional Kais, Kibito, and Grand Supreme Kai are meditating alongside Piccolo, their somewhat novice student. The meditation is interrupted. Grand Supreme Kai senses something, an awakening of someone he knew long ago. The other Kais all sense it too, as does Piccolo. Through what the Kais taught him, he quickly learns what's happening. There's no other way around it. It has to be Lord Beerus. Piccolo's training has been going pretty well, and he's made some great progress while also learning about the universe. The Kais have all taught him about Beerus and the multiverse as well, and Piccolo is stunned to hear that now, Beerus is once again awoken from his nap. But while he knows the technical aspects of Beerus, he doesn't actually know Beerus. Is he a threat? Should they all be concerned? Grand Supreme Kai reassures Piccolo he shouldn't really be of any concern right now. But Shin does mention one thing: Beerus has a temper, and as long as Beerus doesn't want something and isn't angered, he should be okay. Naturally, Piccolo is still a little bit worried, but the Kais all go back to their training. The God of Destruction stretches as he wakes up, with Whis greeting him after he returned from his long nap. It turns out Beerus hasn't really missed much. Frieza was killed, and then Boo was somehow defeated by people on Earth. And also the Kais appear to have a new student, a Namekian. And every Kai has returned, it's no longer just Shin and Kibito. What a boring few decades. But he is intrigued though, Frieza and Boo defeated. He asks Whis, who were the ones responsible for this? Well, Whis checks and it appears on Earth, there appears to be some Saiyans there. Beerus instantly perks up when he hears this. Saiyans, huh? That reminds him of a dream he had. We go back to Earth, specifically Monster Island. 17 and Ruda are outside, overlooking the area with their kid, their young daughter named Jade. 17 and 18's original names were Lapis and Lazuli, so I'm sticking with the rock theme for the naming here. I mean, a jade is a gem, but close enough, I guess. Anywho, it's a pretty average day on the island. But they're then shocked to see a flash of light, and show obvious concern. They call for Android 16 to join them, as the 4 all fly over to see what just happened. 17 and Ruda draw their rifles, quietly approaching after they fly there. They draw closer and see 2 human-like figures, and the 2 then become clearer. These 2 aren't human. Guns definitely won't be enough if they are a threat, so 17 and Ruda put their guns away, as they approach the 2 mysterious visitors. That's odd, Ruda can't sense their ki at all. Could they be more androids? I mean, they definitely aren't human, that's for sure. Beerus then turns, and is happy to see the company. He instantly notices Ruda's tail and realizes she's a Saiyan. He and Whis introduce themselves, saying why they're here and why they pick Ruda specifically. It is pretty early in the morning, so everyone else is asleep, and Ruda was the first power that they sensed. And it seems that they struck gold. They actually did find a Saiyan. Beerus asks if she knows anything about the Super Saiyan God, and it turns out she doesn't, but she does know about Super Saiyan, and actually a level above that. She shows off Super Saiyan 2 to Beerus and Whis, and Beerus tells her to test that power against him. He wants a fight? Well, if he says so. Ruda lunges at Beerus. She keeps trying to punch, but she can't hit him at all. He's too fast. She considers draining his energy, but she can't. Without making any contact, she's not able to. He is a bit disappointed. I mean, if she were some sort of Super Saiyan God, she'd be able to keep up with his speed. But he does know other Saiyans exist on Earth. Maybe he can consult them. Ruda tells Beerus and Whis that she knows the other Saiyans. And since she's kind of intimidated by these 2, she offers to go get them. You know, to appease them so they don't have to move. Beerus and Whis are shocked to see her disappear as she uses instant transmission, leaving 16, 17, and Jade awkwardly standing there. How can they make conversation with a god and an angel? At his residence, Goku and his family are asleep. Well, besides 3 people, Bardock, Raditz, and Ox King. The 2 are just enjoying the early morning air, and watches as Raditz does hundreds of thousands of push-ups nearby, just so he can impress a certain blonde-haired girl who rejected him not too long ago. If he works out, he'll get her this time. Too bad that's not gonna happen, but he might as well get stronger. Ruda suddenly arrives and explains why she's here, but tells him not to worry. Bardock immediately runs into Goku's house to wake him, Goku, and Goten up. with them getting ready to go consult Vegeta and Trunks. Ruda returns to the island, and not long after, Goku and Bardock teleport in with the other Saiyans. And Bulma, she wanted to come along to watch. Vegeta seems pretty scared right now, trying to casually talk everyone out of it. Vegeta's here. How funny. But that doesn't really matter to Beerus, he wants to test out everyone's power. No one is able to contest with him, and just as he finishes up his final fight with Vegeta, Piccolo then teleports in, alongside Shin and the Grand Supreme Kai. Wow, it's been a long time since they've seen Piccolo. He looks good, but the Grand Supreme Kai tells everyone they've all been watching and they saw what's going on. It turns out, Piccolo actually had an idea. He may know a way to find out about the Super Saiyan God. He explains, during his Kai training, he did have to research all the planets, and one of them that he particularly got interested in was Namek. I mean, what else would you expect? And with his interest in Namek, he eventually did find out about the Namekian Book of Legends. And although he hasn't really read it too in depth, he knows there's some stuff about Saiyans in there. He tells Beerus to hold off for now, he'll consult the book and tell him what he finds. This is actually news to Beerus, and he lets the Namekian do it. Using the Kai, which he learned, Piccolo then goes to Namek, as they all wait around, with some even trying to fight Beerus again. A few minutes later, Piccolo then shows up again, and he seems pretty happy. He's read the book and it turns out there is something about the Super Saiyan God in there, and how to achieve it. The Super Saiyan God isn't a person, it's a transformation. Well, from what he can understand. And the great thing, the ritual isn't even too hard. They just need 5 Saiyans to channel all their energy into one other Saiyan, and they have more than enough Saiyans here. Yeah, that's all great, but who do they use the ritual on? They all turn to Beerus, letting him decide. So, he surveys the crowd and points a finger out. His finger is pointed towards Bardock. From all of his fights, Beerus can tell that Bardock seemed the most impressive, although Vegeta and that Ruda girl came surprisingly close. But still no match for Beerus. Everyone agrees to this. Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, Ruda, and Gohan all channel their energy into Bardock. Unsure if the ritual will work, but it does. Bardock then descends from the sky with red hair. This is definitely what Beerus was looking for. They can't sense him, but Bardock can tell. This power is insane, unlike anything he can ever imagine. So Beerus gets ready to fight him. But 17 intervenes. He tells everyone if they're going to fight, do it away from the island please, just to protect the animals. Beerus chuckles. This machine mortal is pretty funny. He jokes about 17 being confident enough to tell a god of destruction what to do, and admires his personality. And he appeases the android's wishes. The group all flies towards the coast, as Bardock and Beerus ascend above the water. The fight itself is spectacular. Bardock still isn't a match for Beerus, but he's way better than he was before. Beerus mentions Bardock still has a long way to go, but he has hope that Bardock will be a great rival in the future. Bardock himself even grows during the fight, somehow obtaining the power of Super Saiyan God in his regular Super Saiyan form. Needless to say, Beerus is pretty pleased with this fight. Although he's not defeated, he's happy. And the two return to the island. Everyone's just cheering on Bardock, saying how awesome that was, except for Vegeta. He scoffs in the corner. But then Beerus interjects. He asks if any Saiyans want to come to train with him. He doesn't want to take too many, but he's willing to take some. It's better to have more than just one rival. Sadly, Ruda declines this. She doesn't want to leave Earth to train, and she could just get the ritual done here instead. She needs to look after her daughter, and she wants to stay with 17, protecting the island and such. Goten and Trunks obviously can't go, and Gohan declines, because, you know, work and such. But he can also just get the ritual done here, just like Ruda. And you know, on second thought, he could actually just train with her and 17. That could be cool. But luckily for Beerus, he's able to pick up 4 Saiyans, Bardock, Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz. That settles it then. He gives them a few weeks to get their things in order, with Goku having the most trouble because he has to run it by Chi-Chi, but they all eventually go to his planet with Whis. And while we're talking about gods, why not talk about the opposite end of the spectrum, as we go to Hell. Literally. In Hell, or Hiffle, whatever you want to call it, there's a new threat brewing. I'm not talking about Frieza either, no. A former villain waits there, watching everything that's going on right now. This villain awaits to make his return. And while on the topic of villains, Frieza is also trying to make his return. Or, at least his army is. Ruda, Jade, 17, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks are all on Earth training one day, alongside Android 18 and Krillin who join them. Even some of the humans are there. With how often they visit the island, they're all pretty good friends. And 17 essentially has made everyone honorary rangers. Even some of their families have come out, they're all having a feast. But during this meal, Gohan then says he senses something weird. Ruda confirms this too, and they ask Android 16 to help. Android 16 has been upgraded many times by now. 17 and Ruda have done some upgrades, as well as consulting Bulma for some. He's much stronger, but also his features are stronger too, such as his ability to sense ki. It's essentially a very advanced scouter, so he turns it on. And he's able to detect there's multiple ships coming to Earth's atmosphere, and he's then able to patch himself into their radios. Listening in, just as he suspected, it's Frieza's army, and he tells everyone the location of the ships. Their keys are kind of weak and there's so many of them, so it'll be hard to find everyone. So it's better to get to the ships before they land and spread out. Everyone grabs onto Ruta as she drops them off at different locations. On one of the ships, Sorbet sees what's happening, and he commands the army to attack, no longer wanting to remain stealthy. The good thing for everyone on Earth is that Frieza's army isn't really too strong right now. I mean, in terms of pure power, they never really stood a chance, but as of right now, they don't even stand a chance in terms of numbers. This is before Frieza's revival, so it's very disorganized and it doesn't have as many people as it should. The group is easily able to defeat the soldiers. As some try to retreat, Sorbet calls everyone back. They're not going to get the Dragon Balls. But they do have an idea. The ships quickly ascend into the air, as they all get into formation. Each ship appears to be armed with a weapon, a giant laser aimed right at Earth. Sorbet maniacally laughs. If they can't revive Frieza, they'll just destroy Earth. Lord Frieza would have wanted it anyways. On the ships, the lasers charge, and they're launched towards the surface. But they all explode mid-air. They collide with Android 17 and Ruta's barriers. The weapons themselves were actually pretty powerful. It probably would have destroyed Earth. But with the barriers in place, it essentially means that the Frieza force just blew themselves up. The remaining forces that escape the ship are cleaned up by Krillin, Tenshinhan, and Yamcha. That was a pretty easy victory, and they could all return back to their feast. Good thing because they were pretty hungry. And just like that, Resurrection F was avoided. But as I mentioned earlier, there's still another threat looming about. Unaware of this, the 4 Saiyans on Beerus' planet all train, and naturally by now all of them have Super Saiyan God. Gohan and Ruta have done the ritual for themselves on Earth, and before those 4 Saiyans left for Beerus' planet, they had it all done on them too. They're learning some great things and growing stronger, and they're slowly coming to learn there seems to be something above Super Saiyan God. Maybe if Frieza's resurrection was successful, they would have used this power for good, but for now, they continue to pursue it. The next goal of their training is something called Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. Kind of a mouthful. This is sick. They'll have to show Gohan and Ruta it one day once they're back on Earth. But their return to Earth may be sooner than they expected, because things are about to go sour. Krillin, 18, and Marin are away from home one day, enjoying a nice vacation that Android 18 requested. In their hotel room, Krillin turns on the TV, and sees breaking news. The city that they were in got attacked. People heard explosions throughout. Krillin's jaw drops when he sees on the TV, his house is destroyed. Nothing else, just his house. Thankfully they weren't home and they could always replace that, but still. What could possibly be going on? The news describes it as some sort of terror attack, no accident. Naturally, news spreads. 18 eventually makes a call to Monster Island. Ruta picks up and is surprised to hear the news. 18 surprisingly sounds pretty nonchalant when she says her house was blown up. She's more angry than anything, but Ruta's confused. It wasn't any accident, it was an attack. Who could possibly want to target Krillin or 18? It's good that they were away from home, and they say they're going to remain here for now, at least until they get more information. Needless to say, Ruta's pretty concerned, so she asks if 16 can go analyze it and see what's going on. He agrees and heads over to the city, as Ruta then goes to tell 17. 17 is out on the island right now, and he sees an odd poacher. Oh great, another one of these. He fires a warning shot, but the poacher doesn't budge. He can't quite make out who it is. Maybe one of Frieza's goons who escaped. He draws closer in the forest to approach the person, with his gun ready, but he's surprised as he hears an eerily familiar voice. Ruta exits the house to go tell 17, and then she sees an explosion in the distance, near where 17 is supposed to be. And even worse, she senses power nearby. Wait, is it a single power or is it multiple? She can't really tell. But something about it seems bad, and familiar at the same time. She's paralyzed in fear as she sees in front of her, the same guy who killed her a few years back. And then, she's literally paralyzed, as she feels an odd wave of energy rush over her. This energy isn't any normal kind of ki or god ki even. It might not even be ki at all. The person she just saw turns and grins. In his hands, he holds a battered Android 17. Nice to see you again. It's none other than Cell. He's alive? How is he back and why is he stronger? Ruta gets it now. He's the one who attacked Android 18. But what does he want? And what is this power he's using? Well, we'll save that mystery for the next episode. So as I mentioned, this Cell is the same Cell from before. I was pretty interested to read through the comments and see what people's theories were about this Cell. And surprisingly, not many people predicted this. You see, for this brand new arc, consider it somewhat of a rewrite of the Super 17 saga in Dragon Ball GT. Well, not really, more so it's taking heavy inspiration from it. But how is that? Well, let's rewind a bit, all the way back to the Buu saga once Dabura died. Since we are taking inspiration from GT, we're gonna assume that both Gero and Dabura get to keep their bodies in Hell. If Frieza did, then they probably would as well as a certain other someone. In Hell, Dabura ends up meeting Gero, as well as Babidi who's been sent to the same place. They're all pretty disappointed and want revenge on a common group of people. That group of Earthlings, Saiyans, that one Namekian, and those androids. Dabura and Babidi are particularly angry at the Saiyans, while Gero is very angry at the androids. But they're pretty much all angry at everyone else on Earth. And there is one more person in Hell that's there with them, and that would be Cell. While Cell is Gero's creation, it's not like they're best friends or anything. However, Cell, Gero, Dabura, and Babidi all have a common goal: revenge. And the perfect weapon is right there. First off, Cell needs some upgrades. Gero is able to give Cell DNA from Babidi and Dabura, not only allowing him to have Dabura's strength, but Babidi's magical abilities. So, he's upgraded far beyond his original capabilities. Gero really wanted to gather some DNA from Ruda, Bardock, and Raditz as well, but obviously with their current location, they're gonna have kind of a hard time getting DNA from people on Earth in the living world. They are able to work with what they have here though. So now, the actual escape plan. Although it will take a long time, possibly even years, the combined magic of Babidi, Dabura, and Cell may be enough to create a rift to allow them to get to Earth. As we have seen both in canon and non-canon content, it doesn't necessarily seem too hard to get back to the living world. And with strong people such as this, I'm sure it would be possible. But they are eventually able to create this rift out of Hell. As Cell exits through the temporary portal, the three other villains laugh, seeing Cell as kind of a weapon for them. They get to sit back and relax in Hell as Cell does the dirty work. But of course, Cell is doing things his way. He doesn't need these guys anymore. He has the strength to overpower Dabura, the magical abilities to outshine Babidi, and the intelligence to make Gero's pale in comparison. He has it all now, and he no longer needs these guys on his side. This is his mission now. And can he really even trust them? As he departs Hell, he launches a massive blast, killing the three of them altogether. And since they died while in the afterlife, these three are now all permanently dead. The portal begins rapidly shrinking as Cell heads through it, quickly closing off as he's now back in the living world. So now the hard part. Who should he target first? Well, there is one thing that could be useful from one of the fighters on Earth. Something that Gero didn't have the resources to make in Hell. An infinite energy engine. They actually told Cell to do this regardless, so they wouldn't have to make an engine themselves. If he attacks one of the androids first, he can just kill them, take the battery, and install it within himself. Much easier than gathering the resources and actually building the part. With that, he'll truly be unstoppable. And not only is it easier, but it's a bit more fun. Remaining stealthy, his first target is Android 18, and once he arrives at their house, he immediately blows it up. This is the quickest way to do it. Hopefully he killed everyone inside so he could just steal her engine pretty easily, with no issues at all. But, as we mentioned in the last part, they weren't home. They actually lucked out here, and he doesn't have any idea where she would be at the moment. But thankfully, there's other androids for him to target. This leads him to going towards Android 17 on the island. Once he arrives on the island, he easily defeats Android 17, and that brings us to where we were in the last part. The thing that's paralyzing Ruda and that weird energy she's feeling, that's magic. That energy absorption technique that she and Bardock had was pretty annoying for Cell, so he wants to make sure that she's held in place and she can't do anything about it. With Android 17 unconscious in Cell's hands, Ruda watches in terror as Cell lifts his tail. With a gruesome scene, he stabs Android 17 in the stomach, removing the engine inside him. With the engine now in his possession, he throws the gravely injured android aside, as Ruda struggles to free herself so she could heal Android 17. He's finally done it. He has the infinite energy engine, and now he'll be unstoppable. Now it's time to enact his revenge. He'll save Ruda for last. He killed her once already, so her watching 17 die should be good enough for him. As he charges a blast in her direction, Cell is then caught off guard by two blasts. Pretty strong ones in fact, but they don't really damage him too much. He looks over and sees. Of course, people nearby would sense what's happening, and two people have joined to save the day. Android 16 hovers above with his arms detached, having just launched a Hell's Flash at Cell. By his side is Gohan with red hair in his Super Saiyan God form. And this was the perfect distraction. It allows Ruda to free herself, quickly grabbing 17 and then teleporting over to Gohan. Mid-air, she's able to heal 17, but it appears there's an issue. Sure, she did help him restore his wounds, but that's not going to restore technology. He retains his android strength, but now, he of course does not have that infinite energy engine to rely on. He can still fight though and help, but this will take some getting used to since he's so used to fighting with it. It's definitely cause for problems, but at least he's okay. Cell grins. Ah, more challengers. This should make it more fun. Plus it gives him the chance to test out his new powers more. Combined, the 4 attacks Cell, as Ruda also goes into Super Saiyan God. Suppressed, Cell is able to hold them off pretty easily, but Gohan and Ruda then hear a voice. It's Goku trying to check in on everyone. He sensed a very evil energy on Earth, as well as the energy of his son and his sister Raisin, naturally making him think that they're in trouble. He asks if they need help or if they're okay, but they tell him not to come. If Cell fights Goku or any other of Beerus' students, he can absorb their energy and become unstoppable. Sure, their strength would be helpful, but they don't know what Cell is capable of now. For all they know, that would just help him. Well, at least they know what's going on. But Goku's of course pissed and concerned. As is Raditz. He really wants to intervene to help and tells Bardock to take him there, but Bardock declines. He asks Goku and Goku says the same. Whis even steps in too, saying it's best that they stay here unless they're absolutely needed. It'll be interesting to see how those on Earth handle themselves. While Goku, Bardock, and Vegeta realize that they can't intervene, this really does not sit well with Raditz. With the group heavily disadvantaged, Cell continues the onslaught. Not only does he have the edge in terms of power, but he has magic which they can't really counter. And Cell seems to be heavily relying on magic here. He truly is a terrifying threat now. But as the four fight Cell, they then watch surprised as he's then cut into 4 pieces, with a massive ki blast going through those pieces. A little bit caught off guard, Cell regenerates, as someone then teleports behind him and he feels a sword go through his chest, slicing upwards towards his head, as he's then cut once again into many little pieces. After a massive flash of light, it's revealed who's there. Drawing the Z-sword back, Piccolo stands there, as Cell then regenerates from all his tiny pieces. Of course, that wasn't enough to kill him. He thought his magical abilities would be enough to defend against a random attack like that, not to mention his natural strength. The group's elated to see Piccolo, and Cell's pretty amused. He never expected a weakling like Piccolo to be here. And what's with the sword? Cell tries to restrain Piccolo using his magic, ready to eat Piccolo as a snack, but Piccolo easily breaks free somehow. Although Piccolo doesn't nearly match Cell in terms of power, remember who he's training with. He's working with Kais. And Piccolo's no real stranger to magic himself. Here, he's essentially able to nullify all of Cell's magical abilities, pretty much rendering them useless on him. And while this is pretty good, there's still the issue of power. Of course, Piccolo is a powerful addition, but even with him, it's still not nearly enough to defeat Cell. Stretching his hand towards the sky, Piccolo then heals all his allies, telling 16 to retreat as he can't be healed by Piccolo's abilities. He'll take 16's place as he nullifies Cell's magic, helping the group in their attacks. While Cell still does have the upper hand, he's a little bit angered by this, after all that time spent getting his magical abilities, and with how useful they were, he somehow can't even use them now. Why? Confusion mixes with anger as he reveals more of his full power, giving the group some serious trouble. He is especially wary of Ruta, because now without his magical abilities, she may be able to hit him, which would allow her to drain his energy. Most of his focus is spent avoiding her, but he has a better idea. Since he already did kill her, he wanted to let her off easy, but the best option here is probably to just kill Ruta outright. There's no point in savoring the moment if it'll screw him over. Quickly charging a massive blast, he aims one towards her, as everyone looks in shock knowing what will happen. Desperately, she quickly braces herself. A massive explosion takes place midair, with Gohan, Piccolo, and 17 looking on in horror. Cell chuckles to himself, but Gohan and Piccolo realize they can still sense her energy, and it seems that someone else is there too. The blast dissipates, revealing Ruta with her arms up, trying to block the blast. But in front of her is Raditz, with his hand stretched out, with Bardock alongside him. Seeing Bardock, it makes Cell explode in anger. This guy again, meddling with his plans. He's not even going to try to savor the moment, he'll kill Bardock instantly. As he lunges towards Bardock, Bardock then lets out a chuckle as he teleports away, back to Beerus's planet. He's not there to fight, he was only there to transport Raditz. After much thinking, they decided it might be good to send some help. Even with the risk, it shouldn't be too bad if they send one person, and Raditz seemed to insist on going. He hasn't really been there for his siblings too much, but now he's gonna make up for that. As Bardock teleports away, Cell stumbles midair, confused as to where Bardock went. He then plummets to the ground as Raditz delivers a flying kick, spiking him downwards. Cell still collectively outshines them all in terms of power, but naturally this is an issue for him. Not only is his magic nullified now, but they have an extra fighter here, and he seems pretty strong. What the hell happened to Raditz? He was never this strong before. And now that he thinks about it, why do Ruta and Gohan have red hair? And why does Raditz have blue hair? These are some really weird looking Super Saiyan forms. But whatever, he picks himself back up and continues fighting. For the time being, Cell decides to set his sights on Piccolo, and the group is keen to pick up on this quickly. They now all struggle to protect him. Cell is singling him out now because he wants to activate his magic once more. They continue fighting, and then Gohan is suddenly handed something by Piccolo. Piccolo subtly passes it towards Gohan so Cell wouldn't see it. This must be a Senzu bean or something, but telepathically, Piccolo then begins conversing with Gohan and Raditz. Raditz hears them loud and clear, as he taunts Cell going on the offensive rather than the defensive. He gets Cell to fight him one-on-one, telling Cell that no matter how strong he is now, it's nothing in comparison to where Raditz is. Of course, this is a lie, and Raditz doesn't really stand a chance here, but he's confident. He focuses on dodging Cell's tail, even cutting it off with a sword made of ki, with both of his hands encapsulated in ki blades. Obviously these blades don't injure Cell since he just regenerates, but it's a smart move by Raditz, as Raditz continues lunging towards Cell with the ki blades. He has a new plan, he goes for Cell's arms and legs, continuously cutting them off, as well as his tail. And you know what? To up the ante, how about some more blades? Raditz turns his legs into blades as well. He does have to be really careful with this, but this essentially makes him a sentient Kienzan right now. Raditz grins. This seemingly basic strategy is enough to hold Cell off, at least until Cell is able to think a way around it. There's no point in holding back anymore. Cell fully powers up, and the power that Cell shows off actually makes Raditz's stomach drop. Everyone on Beerus' planet reacts the same way too, except for Beerus and Whis. Beerus is admittedly a bit intrigued, but he'll let these mortals handle it. The good thing is, Piccolo only needed a really short diversion, and Raditz accomplished that. As Raditz distracted Cell, Ruta was able to heal both Piccolo and Gohan, as Piccolo can't really just heal himself. She and 17 get the rundown on the plan, and they tell everyone to be safe, as she and 17 then teleport in to help Raditz. In the heat of the battle, Cell lets out a massive explosion, as 17 desperately tries to shield the island beneath them, and this blast knocks the 3 fighters back, leaving them open for Cell to strike. As Raditz tries to rebound, he sees Cell's tail lunging towards him. Too fast for him to dodge or slice off, but then he sees someone else slices off the tail. Raditz, Ruta, and 17 are happy. The diversion worked. Watching from Beerus' planet, Whis shows everyone on his staff. Goku's pretty shocked. What happened to Gohan? Whis' staff displays an image of Gohan with green skin and some other odd features, as Whis explains. It was a pretty smart move on Piccolo's part. The item that he handed Gohan was a Patara earring. Cell looks up and sees the same thing that Goku was looking at. A new figure wielding the Z-Sword. The fusion of Gohan and Piccolo, a fusion of master and student. The hardest part now is coming up with the name. I could do Kalohan like Dragon Ball Fusions does, but since this is a different fusion, let's say he dubs himself Gohalo, because any other option is kind of a mouthful or sounds very odd. But he doesn't focus on that right now. The fusion's pretty content. The massive power of Gohan combined with the abilities of a Namekian and a Kai, although his grin disappears, as he gets a message from the Grand Supreme Kai within his head. He told Piccolo not to use those earrings on himself, and Piccolo completely forgot. This may make the fusion permanent because Piccolo is an apprentice Kai. No one's really sure, but the Kais warned against it just to be on the safe side. Maybe it'll be okay, but only time will tell. Gohalo needs to focus on the fight, although he dreads the possibility of having to explain this to Videl later. Oh, Kami, and he has to explain it to Chi-Chi too. He tosses that worry aside as Cell attacks, but he's able to Kai away. Seems like Cell forgot that this fusion could teleport. Cell tries to attack again, but it's the same result. He turns around and sees Gohalo standing there, charging a special beam cannon. How stupid. Cell knows that move too, and he knows how long it takes to charge. Preparing a quick blast, he launches it towards Gohalo, and the blast seemingly erases the fusion. But Ruta, Raditz, and 17 aren't too scared. That was just a clone, a mere distraction, because little does Cell know, about a dozen other Gohalos are around him charging the same attack. He realizes it when it's too late, and he's hit by these collective attacks, as the fusion then reforms into one being, with a brilliant red flash as he turns into Super Saiyan God, or at least whatever his version of Super Saiyan God is. Still, it seems like it might not be enough. Cell is just too strong, but this fusion should do a good job holding him off. Cell prepares his own Kienzan, and Gohalo seemingly isn't too fast to dodge this, as his arm gets sliced off. He regenerates, feigning his weakness, but really, this is just as planned. While Gohalo regenerates the arm, Cell launches towards him, but is then hit from behind as Gohalo controls his severed arm. Distracted, Cell looks behind to see who attacked him, seeing nothing but a floating arm there, leaving him open for another attack from Gohalo. This fusion, it's mocking him. Cell snaps. He's lost all of his sanity. With a menacing grin on his face, he charges a massive Kamehameha, one that'll erase the fusion easily. But just as he's about to launch it, his hands are then pushed upward towards his face, erasing his entire head and upper chest. Cell angrily regenerates, seeing Gohalo's arm stretched out, laughing as he watched Cell hit himself. The Gohan side of the fusion is amazed. This Namekian DNA sure is interesting. With amazing speed, Cell then launches towards Gohalo, finally landing a massive hit. This sends the fusion plummeting down towards the island, as Cell then once again charges a blast. He'll destroy the entire island, everyone on it, and the planet. He doesn't care anymore. He's lost all rational thinking. Who cares if he can't absorb these people for more power? But as he charges the blast, he notices he's not really able to charge it too quickly. It's almost as if he's straining to charge it. Everyone down below looks on, smiling. Then Cell notices Ruta isn't there with them. Nearby on a tall hill, Ruta is there, slowly draining Cell's energy. Gohalo served as a great distraction, and in the midst of their fight, Ruta was able to land a punch on Cell, and he didn't even realize it, assuming it was just one of the Gohalo clones. Cell quickly comes to the realization of what just happened, and now is the perfect opportunity to kill him. Creating 2 massive blocks of Kachikachin, Gohalo then slams them into Cell, crushing him and disorienting him greatly, combined with the fact that his energy is being drained. With Cell temporarily stunned, Gohalo then goes to slice Cell in half, And although it's kind of disgusting, he stretches his hand out, grabbing everything inside a cell. He retracts his arm back and Cell regenerates. But as we mentioned before, you can't regenerate something mechanical, something that's not originally part of you. And as for Cell, the infinite energy engine was an addition. It wasn't something that was part of his biological body. Goku was able to steal it back. Cell's lost, hasn't he? He has no infinite energy, he has no magic, and his energy is slowly being siphoned by Ruda. But there is one more option. With a psychotic laugh, Cell then prepares to blow himself up, as he's then punched in the face once again by Ruda. Collectively, the rest of the group attacks too, as she keeps trying to steal Cell's energy. Cell is then held in place by Goku. This is it. Raditz allows Ruda to do the honors. Once again, she jumps up, with a look of rage and determination on her face. One of her fists is coated in a red aura, as well as coating herself in the stolen energy from Cell. She essentially becomes a missile. With a godly dragon fist, Ruda then lands the finishing blow on Cell, as he slowly disintegrates, being hit by his own energy, which was part of that massive glow surrounding Ruda. She finally did it. This is revenge from when she died before, and vengeance for what he did to 17. As his cells fizzle out of existence, the group watches content as he's now dead for good. Goku descends, glad to have helped, but of course he can't help but feel concerned. This fusion may actually be permanent. Well, they'll know for sure in about an hour or so, and although there's a bit of damage, 17 thankfully protected the island, as well as 16, Jade, and all the animals that were on it too. He was mostly focused on that, and without his infinite energy engine, he couldn't really do too much else. But now they have the engine back, so they could just head to Bulma and get it repaired. Good idea. Ruda grabs him and then teleports into Bulma, as Goku and Raditz say goodbye. Raditz and Goku then teleport into the city, where 18 and Krillin now are. This is the last loose end that they need. How are they going to repair the house? Well, Goku is half a Supreme Kai. So, using those abilities, thankfully he's able to create a new house for them. And this time, he fits it with a gym. He tells the two of them to train up because next time, this support won't be on the house. No pun intended. The two of them then teleport back to Beerus's planet, and they're stunned to see the other three Saiyans are already preoccupied with someone, as Goku and Raditz draw closer. Over the shoulders of the other Saiyans, they see Beerus arguing with someone, a fatter version of himself. We'll leave off here for now. So what do you guys think? Is this fusion permanent, or will they defuse? Piccolo is only an apprentice Kai after all, not a full Supreme Kai. We've seen Kai fusions before, but they involve Shin and Goku Black, who were both Supreme Kais at the time. We've never seen one with an apprentice Kai and a non-Kai, so let me know what you think below. Of course, they can undo it regardless, but this will affect the next episode. The last part ended with Champa's arrival on Beerus' planet, and this means next, we'll be going to the Universe 6 tournament. Luckily for everyone else, during this conversation, Gohan and Piccolo end up defusing. That's a huge relief. Right away, the group already has a great team. Champa says it's cheating if Piccolo is involved since he is a Supreme Kai, but pretty much anyone else is fair game. Goku, Vegeta, Raditz, and Bardock are instantly on the team. The next choice could either be Gohan or Ruda. Ruda kinda has her hands full right now because 17 needs to have surgery and repairs to install his engine again, and Bulma mentions that it's a gross process, and it'll take some time for 17 to get back to full form. So, Gohan gets involved instead. Don't worry though, we'll see some more of Ruda later. As for her, she definitely has some catching up to do, after seeing Raditz reveal Super Saiyan Blue, as well as knowing that everyone on Beerus' planet has access to it. She realizes that she needs to step her game up. She'd rather remain on Earth, but even with that, she can still train for this form. She wishes she could have been part of the tournament though. It would have been pretty fun, but maybe next time though. That settles it. They have their 5 members and the team is pretty stacked. Everyone is pretty much on the track for the same things too. Bardock, Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz already have Blue, so they continue to train with that. And they also help Gohan try and access it. And this gives Goku a great idea. Gohan may not be able to access it in the time before the tournament, so instead, they're going to go in the Room of Spirit in time. Just for a day because Gohan doesn't really want to age too much. While in here, Goku's able to find out about Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, while Gohan ends up accessing Super Saiyan Blue, and he seems pretty strong. The two have a fight and Goku's amazed. He didn't know Gohan could reach this level. He's been so focused on training with the other 3 that he forgot about everyone on Earth, including Gohan and his sister. Goku begins realizing something. He should probably be visiting them more after the tournament. But also, he has a question for Gohan. He asked if he wants to stay in for another day, since Gohan already grew remarkably fast, and Goku wants to test his limit. It takes some convincing, but Gohan ends up agreeing. He's actually interested too. He wants to see how far he can go. Plus, if he stays in a few extra days, maybe he'll learn some stuff from Goku that he didn't know before. As for everyone else, they continue their training on the outside, getting some quality family time in too. Time passes and the tournament itself begins. It's not really anything crazy. The first fight is Bardock versus Batamo, and Bardock wins. The next fight is Bardock versus Frost, and Bardock isn't playing around here, especially because of who Frost is. He can see right through the act, and Bardock wins. Bardock is up against Vegeta next. And even though he physically can't hurt Vegeta, I'm sure Bardock can come up with some pretty good insults. So, by doing that, Bardock wins again. Everyone in the crowd watches on. Champa's in disbelief. How are his fighters being defeated so easily? Beerus, of course, is happy. Bardock's just sweeping everyone. And as for the other Universe 7 fighters, they're a little sad about it. They want a chance to fight too. It's not really fair that Bardock gets to have all the fun out there. I mean, they're winning, but still. They wish they had a chance to fight. Next up, Bardock faces Kaba. Obviously, he saw Kaba before the tournament, and now he's realizing how crazy it is to see another Saiyan, one from another universe. It's weird, this Saiyan doesn't have a tail, and he looks really young and skinny, nothing like the average Universe 7 Saiyan. Plus, it turns out these Saiyans are actually good people, with a remarkably different history than Universe 7. Interested by this, Bardock decides to test Kaba's power, intrigued with how strong he is, but surprised to find out that he doesn't have Super Saiyan. So, Bardock ends up helping him unlock this, pretty much like Vegeta did. Given how Bardock is as a person, I feel like this is a likely outcome. He'd probably help Kaba get Super Saiyan in a similar way to what Vegeta did. Basically just with brute force. But even with Super Saiyan, it's not enough. Kaba loses, but Bardock looks forward to seeing him again. Bardock's on a great streak right now. He already took down 4 fighters, and there's only 1 left. After this, they win. He's actually gotten a little too confident. He's seen the rest of the team and they're very weak in comparison to the next fighter, that being Hit. Bardock is quickly able to find out how strong Hit is. His base isn't enough, Super Saiyan's not enough. All the other Super Saiyan forms don't do the job either. Even with Blue, it doesn't work. Something about Hit's strength and abilities, it really trips him up. Through his brute strength and his time-skipping techniques, Hit of course takes the win here, being able to defeat Bardock relatively easily. This comes as a shock to everyone else. Bardock's no slouch, he shouldn't have lost here. That must mean this Hit guy is really strong. And the next one up is Vegeta. In terms of power, he's relatively similar to Bardock. And now he knows a bit about Hit's techniques, although he doesn't really know too much about how they work. The thing is here, Vegeta pretty much knows that this is a losing battle. He doesn't overpower Hit enough, nor does he know enough about Hit's abilities to counter him. But Vegeta has a strategy. They have 3 fighters left, and Vegeta knows that even if he loses this, he can get some valuable info for everyone else. So, instead of trying to win, he drags the fight on as long as possible, seeing Hit's weaknesses and openings, trying to figure out what anyone else could possibly do to defeat him. And he's able to get some great info, although inevitably, Hit of course is going to be the one to take the win here. Vegeta has no real plan to win. But his idea worked. He was able to get some info, and he tells the rest of the fighters about what he saw. Hit's movements, his openings, how his attacks work and his fighting style. Vegeta got more than enough info, and this will be valuable for the next fighter, which is Gohan. Hit's a little bored now. Another Saiyan? What do they think they're going to do this time? The group looks on, wondering what Gohan's going to do. He's been training, yes, but it hasn't been as intense as everyone else. Plus, how strong could he have gotten over the few days before the tournament? Well, Goku actually kept this kind of a secret, but he tells everyone that he's been training with Gohan for 2 days. Not a normal 2 days either, no, in the room of spirit and time no less. Sure, that's impressive to everyone, 2 years of training, but will it be enough? The group then sees some of Gohan's full power, surprising everyone as he goes into Super Saiyan Blue. Hit's not too impressed, this isn't the first time he's seen it. But the group didn't know he could access it. Although it's not too unexpected, he did have 2 years of training with Goku after all. But they're still skeptical, how will this be enough? Goku tells everyone, the 2 of them came up with something great together, and asks if they remember the Kaioken. The other Saiyans do know about it by now, and they think it's useless due to the strain that it gives Goku. It's been surpassed by every other form though, and it's only useful for a brief burst in power. So they just kind of view it as useless at this point. It's a big risk, but Goku says they found a way to bring it back somehow. The group's confused. They? Goku laughs and he tells them to watch. Gohan remarkably is able to keep up with Hit somewhat, but it's still not enough. Even with Vegeta's information, there's just something about Hit's time skip that Gohan can't counter. He simply is not fast enough. Hit's impressed that Gohan knows his strategy, but he assures Gohan that it won't be enough. But Gohan tells Hit, this isn't his full power. He has something up his sleeve above Super Saiyan Blue even, although it's only something he can use for a short time. And he's not entirely sure it'll work. The group instantly knows what he's talking about. There's no way. But Goku confirms, in those 2 years, he taught Gohan something new. Gohan begins powering up as he then shouts Kaioken, going into Kaioken on top of Super Saiyan Blue. The group is amazed, and even Gohan's a bit surprised. It was a really risky technique, but he's glad it worked. And his power has greatly increased, as well as his speed and all his other abilities. In Blue Kaioken times 10, he's able to completely outpace Hit. Regardless of Hit's time skip, it's not enough. Gohan is just too fast now, and too strong. And Gohan knows he can't screw around here. Hit clearly is a dangerous foe, and the Kaioken isn't going to last forever. He needs to work as quickly as possible to defeat him, and he does. Gohan's able to knock Hit out of the ring, taking the win for this round and the win for Universe 7. Beerus is impressed, but also realizes Goku probably has the same thing. Not to mention, now that both of them are so strong, they hid this from him. It's a way that they may be able to surpass him. He's not too pleased about it. But whatever, it helped them win the tournament, so he holds his tongue. The tournament itself ends pretty normally. Zeno comes in, the wish is made to restore Earth in Universe 6, and everyone goes back home. All pretty standard here, but while that goes normally, what follows isn't going to go the same as it did in canon. I'm referring to the next arc right after this. Zamasu has been watching, and he sees all these Saiyans and begins researching them. But Zamasu assumes that he can't hold his power for long, seeing how it affected Gohan afterwards. He assumes that Super Saiyan Blue is flawed, rather than Blue Kaioken, since Gohan barely fought in Blue at all. He looks at the rest of the fighters. Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz showed nothing amazing, and 2 of them didn't even fight. Bardock had a good showing, but he was defeated really easily by one of those other mortals. One with a very interesting ability, that one being Hit, a mortal playing with time, for his own gain and for his own power. How disgusting, and yet somewhat intriguing. The power definitely seems like something valuable, and it mocks the gods just as much as the godly power that the Saiyans use, if not more. And Zamasu realizes if he could use this power for himself, it would be very helpful. He'd only need to make one wish, that being to become immortal. So, what's going to happen here with Trunks? Well, he's actually safe for now. That's because there's not going to be any timeline meddling. The only thing Zamasu needs to do is to go into the future and use the Super Dragon Balls. And once he becomes immortal, that's all the time travel he needs. Isn't he going to steal someone's body though? Well, there's no need to. He considered stealing Hit's body, but then he realized, Hit's an assassin. He definitely doesn't have any strict moral guidelines either. He just does whatever who he works for wants him to. And this could be very useful, so he decides he's going to recruit Hit as an ally. The first thing he does is travel Universe 6, killing the Supreme Kai there, which kills Champa in the process. He can't take any risk whatsoever. This allows him to find Hit with no issues and without being noticed by anyone important. And he ends up hiring Hit to kill all of those fighters in Universe 7, the ones that are too strong for Zamasu to defeat himself. But there is one thing though, something that Zamasu keeps to himself. He's obviously not going to be allied with Hit forever. Once Hit kills the Saiyans in Universe 7, Zamasu will turn on him and work on his own. But he'll actually have to find a way to defeat Hit. For now, Hit is just the means to an end. Of course, Zamasu doesn't say this out loud, but Hit is pretty much expendable to him. Hit doesn't care who the target is, he's just surprised that Kai is doing it. But he doesn't ask questions, he takes the payment and he's ready to do it. One day, in Universe 7, everyone suddenly senses a huge increase in power. It's coming from Gohan, it looks like. And then it ends up disappearing really quick. Sure, he could have just been training, but that doesn't seem right. Why would he power up so rapidly and so briefly? You know, it may be best to check on him. Those who do have the ability to teleport decide to go over there. Goku arrives, followed by Bardock and then Ruda, with some of the other fighters trying to fly over. And it's weird, when they use instant transmission, they ended up in a public space. People are running away as cops begin swarming the area, including Krillin of course. Why would Gohan need to power up in a public place like this? They're wondering what's happening. Looking for his energy and they can't sense anything at all. But when Krillin arrives, he tells them that some altercation occurred. He didn't even know Gohan was involved until now. It seemed like there was some sort of murder. Oh, that kind of relieves everyone. Maybe Gohan was just acting as the Great Saiyaman trying to stop the murderer. But their happiness quickly fades as they then see who it was. Nearby, someone familiar then walks out. It's Hit. Wait, Hit? What's he doing here in Universe 7? He doesn't look too happy either, but they look past Hit and see behind him. Lying on the ground nearby is Gohan's corpse. Hit has completed his first assassination on Gohan, and his next targets are right in front of him. As Hit slowly approaches, this is where we'll leave off for now. As fighters keep arriving, they see Gohan there, with Hit walking towards them. Naturally, seeing Gohan dead, Bardock instantly goes blue right away, ready to fight Hit as Goku instead goes over to help Gohan, seeing if he could help somehow. Bardock tries to attack Hit, but none of his attacks actually land. Hit's time skip is too powerful, and there's no way he's holding back here like he was during the tournament. And this is an issue. Bardock just needs to land one hit. He doesn't care about a good fight or whatever, he'll just use his spirit vision. But if he can't land an attack, he can't do that at all and it's hopeless. Ruda goes over to Goku and tries to help heal Gohan. Goku's hoping that it's okay and maybe he's just unconscious. Ruda tries to heal him, but it appears it's too late. Gohan is actually dead. Ruda's more so concerned about Goku right now, expecting him to not take this too well. Immediately, everyone senses Goku power up, instantly jumping into blue with his power even greater than it was before. Out of rage, he starts attacking Hit. This actually does catch Hit off guard, as he blocks and dodges Goku's attacks. Bardock expected this reaction, but he's surprised to see how strong Goku's gotten. It appears that in his anger, he got stronger out of necessity. But he's also not in a right state of mind, and it's unclear how long this boost will last. And even so, Goku's still not doing much against Hit, so Bardock joins in and tries to help, as well as trying to calm Goku down, Ruda then joins in too, surprising everyone as she shows off her own Super Saiyan Blue. Although she may have been a bit behind before, she's now finally caught up and gotten this form. This actually catches Hit off guard, and that lets Bardock land a strong punch instead of just Goku. Hit's not too injured by this, but Bardock chuckles. He says even though Hit may be at full power now, Bardock does have a trick to help him. Knowing the clear danger, he immediately starts rapidly draining Hit's energy. Hit tries to avoid attacks, but it gets harder and harder for him as his energy is drained. He doesn't even know what's going on. As Bardock is about to finish off Hit, suddenly he's attacked from behind. He shouts in pain, and everyone looks to see a slash on his back. His guard is down and someone attacked, and he only narrowly avoided it. Zamasu has entered the picture. He's pretty angered right now too. Obviously, Hit hasn't done his job yet, and it seems he is having some issues. Why are these mortals not dead yet? All he did is kill one of them. Hit apologizes, saying that Bardock has some weird ability that helped drain his energy. He doesn't know what happened. He would have been able to finish them off otherwise. That's a simple fix. Zamasu goes in, healing Hit, while Ruda tries to do the same for Bardock. He gets back up and he's fine, but he's gonna need to attack Hit again if he wants to drain his energy still. So, the fight between Hit, Goku, Ruda, and Bardock continues. As Zamasu's about to leave, Vegeta and Raditz then step in and attack him together. It's one of the few times these two have teamed up. As you may remember from a few parts ago, Vegeta and Raditz weren't really on the best terms beforehand, for some pretty obvious reasons, but after all this time spent training together, they've come to tolerate each other. And, in a way, they've somewhat become rivals. Obviously, they would have put the past behind them, recognizing what they have in common rather than what they don't have in common. The two begin fighting Zamasu, and quickly come to learn that he's immortal. Although, it's not too big of a deal. Zamasu still does seem pretty weak, it's just the immortality that's an issue. If they find a way around this, they'll be able to kill him relatively simply. Far away, on the sacred world of Kais, of course everyone's gonna be watching. Piccolo's confused, and a bit angered. Not just from seeing Gohan die, but also the person that he sees there. Zamasu? Piccolo would know who Zamasu is here. There's even a fair chance that they've trained together briefly. He's just more flabbergasted than anything. He always knew that Zamasu was a weird guy, but to think he's evil? Shin decides he's gonna check in with Gowasu, seeing what's going on in that universe. He tries to contact the Kai of Universe 10, but he gets no response at all. None of the gods of Universe 10 are responding. They can only assume that the worst happened, so instead, Shin tells everyone to grab onto him, teleporting the rest of the Kais to Beerus' planet. Whis of course would know about the situation, and Beerus is now filled in. So, a rogue Kai from Universe 10 ended up attacking this universe for some unknown reason, and it appears that he may have killed the gods in Universe 10 as well. On top of that, he's seemingly immortal, but what concerns Beerus the most is that he sees Hit there. Wait a second, how did Zamasu get into Universe 6 without being noticed? Surely one of the gods there would have seen something. It may be even worse than they assumed. They try checking up on Universe 6, and that's when they all realize Zamasu has killed the gods of Universe 6 as well. Probably in an effort to not be noticed. And that does include Champa. This of course would not sit well with Beerus. It looks like they're the last line of defense now. When surveilling everyone, they notice that Zamasu has a time ring, so they're able to figure out what happened. He must use the time ring to get the Super Dragon Balls, or any form of Dragon Balls for that matter, becoming immortal in the process. And as they watch, Zamasu is able to retreat, escaping the attack from Raditz and Vegeta. Now that he's clear of this fight, he teleports away, ending up on Beerus' planet. The gods all look behind them and they see Zamasu standing there. Zamasu is equally surprised. He sees all of the Kais there, and of course Beerus, and they're all alert. All he needs to do is kill Shin, but Piccolo stepped up to defend him. As the strongest of the Kais, Piccolo will take charge here, holding off Zamasu so the Kais can find another way to fix this. Beerus would love to kill Zamasu too, but he knows he can't. With immortality, the Kai is pretty much useless, so he focuses his efforts on helping the Kais as well. Piccolo should be able to hold off Zamasu long enough. The Kais are all teleported to Namek, splitting up. Beerus travels with Shin just in case he needs a bodyguard, while all of the other Kais scatter around the planet, each trying to find Dragon Balls. The only one who doesn't go with them is the Grand Supreme Kai, staying back to support Piccolo. Zamasu notices their plan and teleports away. But clearly, that's not going to work. The Grand Supreme Kai and Piccolo can teleport too. Zamasu hops from planet to planet to planet, but he keeps being chased along the way. He's trying to figure out where all those other people teleported to. They briefly stop at Earth and it's clearly not there. What could they be planning? Zamasu continues his search as Piccolo and Grand Supreme Kai chase him. Eventually, Zamasu does arrive on Namek, as he sees a bunch of Namekians and Kai scrambling around the planet. Wait, what is this planet? Piccolo hits Zamasu with a powerful punch, actually taking Zamasu's head off, which then regenerates. Piccolo's anger continues to swell. Now that they're on his home planet, he'll defend Namek and the Kais at any cost. All he needs to do is buy some time. As they continue to fight, the sky suddenly turns black. but goes back to normal not long later. Piccolo smirks and Zamasu wants to know what they did, when suddenly Shin appears in front of both of them, with Beerus. Angrily, Beerus lifts his hand up, pointing it towards Zamasu. He doesn't care though, he's immortal, he can't be erased. But as Beerus stares him down, Zamasu suddenly realizes what happened. Wait, Namek! The Namekians! He finally makes the connection. He briefly remembers hearing about the Super Dragon Balls, and they had some sort of relation to Namekians. Could there possibly be more here too? And if so, that means his immortality's been reversed. But just as he comes to this realization, Beerus utters a single word, Hakai. Zamasu shrieks as he's then erased, wiped from existence. Sadly, the Namek Dragon Balls weren't strong enough to revive people from other universes. But thankfully Shin has a time ring, so he can revive anyone killed in Universe 6 and Universe 10 with the Super Dragon Balls. But even though they couldn't revive people from other universes, they still were able to revive someone here. Back on Earth, Hit is outnumbered. Ruda healed Bardock, and they're all facing Hit together now. More fighters have joined too, including people like Android 17 and Android 18. Although Hit's outnumbered, Hit's time skip is still incredibly long now because he keeps growing with each fight. His time skip is possibly so buff now that he's a few seconds ahead of everyone. But in terms of power, he doesn't match up to all these people at once. He's on the defensive against 5 Super Saiyan Blues and some other fighters. His main objective right now is to dodge Bardock and Ruda, avoiding that same Spirit Fission that screwed him earlier. As Hit tries to time skip, dodging all the fighters at once, he deactivates it and successfully dodged every attack. But there's one thing he didn't account for. Right when he deactivated the time skip, he's hit by someone else. Everyone looks over and sees. Hit took a powerful punch to the face from a fighter that just rocketed onto the scene, coated in a blue and red aura. It's Gohan. He's been revived by one of the wishes from Porunga. Everyone is briefly distracted by seeing him, but he tells them all to focus. Panicking, Hit immediately activates his time skip again, but he's slowly getting more and more overwhelmed. But even with the time skip at this level, he's not going to be able to face all of these people at once. Goku and his family decide why not trip him up. Goku, Bardock, and Ruda all place their fingers on their forehead, teleporting around Hit rapidly as everyone else tries to attack him. Hit guards all the attacks from Vegeta, Raditz, Gohan, and the other fighters, while desperately trying to track the 3 teleporters. Goku, Ruda, and Bardock are teleporting at such speeds that they create after images, and Hit can't even keep up with which ones are real and which ones aren't, especially with the other people attacking him at the same time. And then suddenly, he feels a hand on his shoulder. It's Bardock again. He lands a powerful punch right at Hit's back, knocking him into Ruda, who also punches him. Hit's on his knees now, as together, Bardock and Ruda drain his energy. Hit weakly tries to stand up, but the rest of the fighters all attack at once. And together, they kill Hit. With this, they all give a collective sigh of relief. Thank Kami that's over. Eventually, all the damage would be restored. Thankfully, Zamasu really didn't get too far into his plan. Shampa's confused as to what happened, but Beerus fills him in. Champa acts all cool and collected, saying he didn't need Beerus' help. But Beerus continues glaring at him. Then, Whis and Vados laugh as they watch Champa break down into tears, with Beerus doing the same. Even though they act like they hate each other, the two clearly do care. It's almost comedic in a way, and as they hug and cry like babies, this is the end of this arc. Fast forward a bit, everyone continues their training, and life goes pretty normally. Zeno isn't really too pleased at the moment. Clearly, he would figure out what happened. And when he finds out Akai went rogue and tried to kill a bunch of people, how do you think he would react? Yeah, he wouldn't really be too happy. He's on the verge of just wiping out every universe. The gods and mortals are also incompetent. But instead, why not have a little fun and give them a chance? He decides it may be a good idea to hold a tournament soon, just to keep the universes in check. This will be the ultimate test to determine whether or not they should be erased. Zamasu was the straw that broke the camel's back. If Zamasu didn't act the way he did, it may have not had to turn out this way. He gathers all the gods together and tells them about his plan. 8 universes will form teams of 10 and compete in a battle royale. The losers will all be eliminated, with one universe that'll be allowed to survive. Now, all the gods will have to scramble and find teams for themselves. Naturally, this would kind of create an issue for Champa. Sure, he would probably still have 9 of the members that he had before, but he'd be missing out his strongest one, that being Hit. Kaba would most likely be chosen as the leader for the team. But now they kind of have an issue. They need to find someone else to replace Hit. I mean, Champa would probably consider reviving Hit, but there's 2 reasons he probably wouldn't do that. 1, Hit doesn't really seem like a good person to trust. Especially after he basically did kill Champa. He's not really going to trust that. And 2, he's pretty fearful of Zeno. Zeno's mad because of the whole situation involving Hit. And he's not really too sure that Zeno will appreciate when Hit's brought back. So, Champa's just going to have to suck it up and find a new member of the team. He starts going around Universe 6, trying to find a suitable planet with some strong warriors. Let's go back to Universe 7. So, since Goku wasn't really involved in making the tournament this time, Beerus will pick the leader this time instead. And if anything, the 2 best candidates would be either Bardock or Vegeta. Both of them have power, experience, and battle strategies. but Beerus may lean in favor towards Bardock. Not that a leader really matters because either way, they're gonna go with the same strategy, just attacking whoever they want when they want. As for the team, that'll be a bit more interesting to decide. Pretty much right away, the first 4 fighters are chosen: Goku, Vegeta, Bardock, and Raditz, as they're all on Beerus' planet and they're the first to hear about it. Alright, 4 out of 10 down. Naturally they go to recruit Gohan too, as well as Ruda, who would bring 17 along with her. 7 fighters. Another great option would be Piccolo. They wouldn't really be too sure about this one, since he is an apprentice Kai, but they come to learn that it's fine because Zeno thinks it's cool. This would probably be a likely outcome because Topo was allowed into the tournament and he was a candidate for God of Destruction, so I guess gods are kind of allowed to fight, at least the lower tiers of them. I don't know, it's probably more so the fact that Zeno just lets anything go as long as he finds it cool. He'd probably be pretty good at making what-ifs. Jokes aside, everything's going great right now. They have 8 strong fighters, and they have a bunch to choose from for the next 2, but more than likely, I feel like it would be Krillin and 18. Krillin is Goku's best friend, and 17's already there, so why not bring 18 too? Plus, they are some of the strongest people left on Earth that they could bring with them. Goten and Trunks are strong, but they're a little too inexperienced for something like this. Plus, if they found out that the universe might get erased, they may just panic. But regardless, this is awesome. They now have 10 people, and the team seems to be pretty strong. And since I haven't really been too clear on this, let's scale everyone to see who's the strongest. The strongest on the team would probably be Vegeta and Raditz, as they're more focused on power in their training. The two are pretty much even with each other, with Goku trailing not very far behind. As for Bardock, he's not solely focused on power for his training, but also technique, and he'd be a little bit below where Goku is. Some of you actually mentioned that Bardock's age may be affecting him now, but I'll get more into that in the next video. I feel like it's a little bit too early for his rapid aging to start happening, but that's besides the point. Equal to Bardock would be Gohan. He doesn't have the same great training that everyone does on Beerus' planet, but he does have Blue Kaioken, which puts him up to a higher level. Plus, his potential as a hybrid Saiyan naturally helps him to get stronger, so even if he doesn't train as much as everyone else, he keeps up with them pretty easily. Not too far behind Gohan is Ruda. As we've seen, she has had some setbacks, and much like Gohan, she is stuck on Earth. But in terms of technique, she has one of the most diverse movesets of the team. It's not like she's weak either. Even though she's not the highest on the team, her power shouldn't really be underestimated. Same with all of her techniques. Behind her would be Piccolo. Again, another person with a great amount of techniques and some great power, although not the strongest on the team. Behind Piccolo is 17, then Android 18, and then finally, Krillin. That should be a pretty good scale to show who's where on the team in terms of power. And as you could probably guess, anyone who already is part of the canon story is stronger than they were in canon at this point. It seems everyone had such different methods of training, especially the 4 Saiyans on Beerus' planet who are all very close to each other in terms of power. Beerus is confident in his team, and wonders how they'll perform. There's no exhibition match either because there's no need for it. So, after the team is chosen, they're all teleported to the world of Void, ready to fight in the Tournament of Power. And with that, I feel this is a good place to leave off for now. So as I mentioned last time, for the Tournament of Power, Champa's in kind of a sticky situation. One of his strongest fighters, Hit, is now dead. He's gonna need an extra person on his team. This would be pretty detrimental, because I feel like the most likely option is recruiting another Namekian. The reason it's bad is because it weakens Saunel and Perina pretty significantly. It would lower each of their powers just to make an extra fighter. So, Universe 6 takes a hit as a result, no pun intended. But as for Universe 7, they're better off than ever. I showed the team at the end of the last part, and they're pretty stacked as you could probably tell. Saiyans with great god powers, Saiyans with god powers and great techniques, a Namekian with Kai abilities, a hybrid Saiyan with some huge power, and even androids, and a short bald guy. They seem to be pretty well off right now. It's going to be interesting to see how they do during the tournament, because now we can transition into it. So in the original story, the first parts of the tournament were already easy, and now with a stronger team, it's only going to get easier from here on out. There is one thing I should mention though, both Bardock and Ruda are going to try to fight smart. Since the universe is at stake here, they'll probably try and use their spirit vision because they don't want to rely on just having a good fight. They'll do whatever they need in order to win, and this is particularly helpful once Goku makes the spirit bomb against Jiren. They're able to gather a lot of energy this way, lending it to the spirit bomb. But I feel that by this point, Zeno would probably ban them using it, since it's kinda cheap for a tournament, and it could kill people. Which kinda sucks because if Bardock and Ruda knew that they only had one more chance to use it, they would have gone after Jiren instead. But regardless, Goku still got the energy from this, so the spirit bomb gets a lot more powerful. Instead of just everyone from Universe 7 lending energy, there's now this extra bit of energy added onto it. This would make the spirit bomb a lot harder for Jiren to overcome. Instead of just having him blink it away, he would have to actually put in some effort for once. However, even with this boost, it probably still wouldn't be enough to actually do anything to him, ultimately ending with him pushing it back, causing Goku to go Ultra Instinct, which plays out pretty normally. The good thing is, after this happens, he's able to get healed, if only partially. Bardock and Ruda don't want to use all their energy just healing Goku, but together they help restore him, in turn causing a massive boost in his power. Most of the time during this tournament, Bardock kinda goes on alone. He realized that Ultra Instinct thing was what Whis was trying to teach them all along, and he's curious, if Kakarot can do it, maybe he can too. He'll just have to put his mind to it somehow. Vegeta sticks with Raditz a lot, they make a pretty good combo, while Gohan's usually paired up with Piccolo. And of course, Ruta's gonna be sticking with 17. Together they're a great combo and fight very effectively, with both of them also acting as supports for other fighters. Piccolo is also another great support, he can heal people too, and his use of magic could be particularly helpful in some cases, such as paralysis. Together he and Gohan are easily able to defeat Dispo. Piccolo is able to freeze him when he's running, while Gohan's strength and speed are more than enough to outpace him. As for Toppo, Vegeta and Raditz take him out together. They don't even need Blue Evolution. Together and Blue alone they're strong enough to handle him, and he likely wouldn't even go into his God of Destruction mode without Frieza there to anger him. One particularly interesting tidbit is when Kale and Caulifla fuse into Kefla. They're about to fight Goku and Ruta can tell he's in trouble, so she and 17 step in to help. 17's able to throw up some barriers to help Goku, while Ruta's able to teleport around and then hit Kefla. While Zeno did ban Spirit Fission, he meant it more in the sense that he didn't want people stealing energy, or at least that's what Ruta hopes he meant, because she uses it to make Kefla forcibly defuse. In the process, 17 kinda did act as bait, which caused him to get defeated by Kefla, but it was for the benefit of the other two fighters there. Together, the three of them knock out Kale and Caulifla, which easily helps them finish off Universe 6. Meanwhile, Raditz and Vegeta face fighters from Universe 3. They're having a pretty easy time, until all of them decide to fuse into Aniraza. Since Raditz is right there, Aniraza kinda catches him off guard and defeats him pretty easily, knocking Raditz out of the ring. The same almost happens to Vegeta, but everyone else helps intervene. Since Aniraza is a mechanical being, I'm gonna say that Spirit Fission won't work, so neither Bardock or Ruta can do that, which they end up finding out the hard way. But thankfully, the remaining fighters of Universe 7 are able to team up. Goku, Bardock, Ruta, Piccolo, Gohan, and Vegeta all defeat Aniraza, and the numbers of the people in the ring keep dwindling. There still is one pretty big issue though, that being Jiren. Those 6 fighters are the last left to face him. Bardock and Ruta go in acting as bait, using instant transmission to teleport around Jiren while Goku attacks. After his power boost, he's the strongest right now in terms of pure strength, as Piccolo, Gohan, and Vegeta help him too. Even with Jiren's insane strength, he's facing 6 really strong fighters with great techniques, so this would likely be overwhelming for him. But as he powers up more and more, he has a much easier time. He charges one powerful blast, launching it at Goku and Bardock. The two teleport away, but Jiren reacts quick enough to launch another blast to where they teleport at. He realized that instant transmission teleports into whatever energy source is around him, so launching attacks at the other fighters proves to be effective. He's able to defeat Gohan and Vegeta, but as for the other 4 fighters, they're able to teleport around to help them stay in. Piccolo's Kai is the best because he can teleport anywhere he wants. He doesn't need to rely on an energy source, meaning he's more unpredictable for Jiren, allowing him to stay in longer. With one swipe, Jiren launches an attack that knocks both Bardock and Goku off the edge, as he then sets his sights on Piccolo and Ruta. Ruta wants to stay in and help fight, but she realizes that she has something more important to do. Surprisingly, she teleports away from Jiren, teleporting to where Goku and Bardock are. Jiren expects her to grab them and teleport back to Piccolo, meaning he can knock all 4 of them out at once. But she knows that's too predictable, something that Jiren will be able to see ahead to. So instead, with both legs at once, she kicks both Bardock and Goku in the back, pushing them back into the ring as she's flung out, eliminating herself in order to save them. But before she did, she made sure to heal them while she kicked them, splitting her energy amongst the two to help them get stronger. This distracts Jiren, as Piccolo then quickly creates a block of Kachin above him. It drops on Jiren and he's able to catch it, with Piccolo then teleporting behind him and launching 2 blasts at his legs, causing him to fall on his back. This allows Piccolo to group up with Bardock and Goku once more, as the block of Kachin falls on Jiren. But this doesn't stop him for long. The block glows red as it then explodes. Jiren completely destroys it with one blast, as he quickly throws a blast towards Piccolo, seemingly knocking him out of the ring as well. That leaves just Goku and Bardock. He aims to knock them out with one attack, charging his most powerful blast yet, as the two desperately try to push it back. Their feet are planted into the ground as they're dragged to the edge. But just as they're about to fall off, they suddenly get a huge burst of power, disappearing right in front of Jiren. Jiren turns around and sees. Once again, Goku's using that same form. And somehow, Bardock has it too. Both of them have Ultra Instinct. Think about it, Bardock has the most unique and lengthy training of anyone here, and had the exact same training with Whis that everyone else got. He is naturally advantaged and would likely be able to unlock this eventually. The good thing is they were recently healed too, so while UI is fleeting, especially for Bardock, they do have a chance. Even with this new power, they're not sure how they're supposed to win, unless they willingly drag themselves out with Jiren. But if they do that, they'll lose. But they hear a voice in their head telling them to do it, Someone's been reading their thoughts and telepathically told them what to do. It's Piccolo. But if they do this, then they'll lose. But Piccolo tells them not to worry. Look in the stands. Piccolo's not actually there. He was never knocked out. When Jiren was distracted, Piccolo was able to split himself into two. Jiren only knocked out a clone of Piccolo, and he doesn't know that. It was the perfect trick. Piccolo's still in the ring hiding somewhere. He tells them to do whatever they need. Even if they fall out of the ring, he's still in there. So, that's what they aim to do. Together in Ultra Instinct, the father-son duo defeats Jiren, tackling him out of the ring as they fall out too. The spectators of Universe 11 then realize Piccolo was never really knocked out. He's the last one in the ring, meaning Universe 7 wins and he's the MVP. Thankfully, it all went well. Of course, Piccolo would wish for all the universes back. Not only is Piccolo a good guy, obviously, but he's a Kai too. This is the morally right decision. Everyone returns home, and now we're gonna head into the Moro arc. Obviously, there's gonna be some changes here. There's no boost, so what are they supposed to do with that? Well, because of that, I feel like the Galactic Patrol wouldn't even stop by Earth. Of course, Jocko would know about it, but without Boo there's no real reason for them to stop there. At least not at first. This blunder causes Moro to get his wish on Namek. They try and stop him alone, but they're not able to do it, even with Maris' help. Now with his youth, Moro can go around the universe doing as he pleases. The Galactic Patrol has no other choice. They need to enlist some strong fighters. They head to Earth, trying to warn everyone, also aiming to get some help. They hear this Moro guy is pretty terrifying. Not only is he physically strong, but his magical abilities are pretty tough to deal with, especially his energy absorption. But thankfully there's a solution. He can only take energy from living beings. But there is a certain artificial fighter that can help them out. The Galactic Patrol is led to Monster Island. There, the Galactic Patrol meets two fighters, Android 16 and Android 17. They asked 18 to help, but there was no pay involved, so she doesn't do it. 17 decides to help because all of these planets are at risk, and he has people to protect the island just in case. And as for 16, he's gonna go along with 17. The two of them should actually be immune to Moro's energy absorption, but the issue is they may not be strong enough. But there's no need to worry. Android 16 is not the same Android 16. Ruta 17 and Bulma have continuously worked on upgrading him. He gathers data from a bunch of fights to get stronger, as well as getting a bunch of physical improvements as well. Plus with some nanotechnology from Capsule Corp, they're able to give him an artificial form of regeneration, something like what Cell has except completely made with robots. If any part of 16 gets destroyed, nanobots inside him can help rebuild it. After that whole debacle with Cell beforehand, they decided it might be a good idea to install this in him. Since he's completely artificial, it wasn't really too hard to do. He was actually the one to suggest this. He thought maybe if he gathered data like Cell did, he could keep growing and be more helpful. And just in case, Ruta and Bardock are going to tag along too. They're going to keep their distance just so Moro doesn't steal their energy, or at least notices that they're there. But they do want to see if their spirit vision is able to help against him. So, alongside Maris and the Galactic Patrol, these four fighters teleport to where Moro is right now, finding him on a recently destroyed planet. It seems they're too late. He already destroyed most of this planet already. He doesn't know who these people are and how they just got here randomly, but they don't spend any time introducing themselves. Immediately a barrier forms around him, trapping him with 16 and 17. The two immediately rush him, landing some powerful attacks but not doing too much damage, although they do leave some marks. He launches an attack destroying the barrier, so he can fight more freely. 16 rips his arms off, charging a Hell's Flash. Moro sees this and gladly opens his mouth, ready to eat the energy, but as the beam flies towards him, he suddenly realizes that this isn't normal energy. He quickly closes his mouth and tries to get out of the way, but the beam hits him almost head on, causing some decent damage. As he recollects himself from this, 17 begins attacking too. It's clear that Moro underestimated them, so he starts fighting more seriously. He knows now that he can't take their energy, but he could probably overpower them still. During the fight, he's suddenly hit in the back by two people, who continuously punch him as energy gets released. He looks behind and sees Bardock and Ruta. He swings his arm at them, but they easily block him, punching him right in the snout. He coughs up a bit of blood and then realizes it feels like he's a bit older now. The two continue attacking him with a barrage of attacks as 17 and 16 help distract him. It appears he can absorb the energy of these two fighters, but also whenever they attack, he gets weaker and weaker. Telepathically, Bardock tells Goku to come in now, as Goku then teleports in with other fighters. They all face Moro's crew who are now trying to get involved. But there's one guy that's particularly an issue, that being 7-3. He starts using Moro's power, stealing people's energy. And this clearly is a big issue, but before he can absorb it, someone else then teleports in and attacks him. That being Piccolo. He tries to take Piccolo's energy, but he can't. With Piccolo being a Kai and all, he's able to counter this magic, making him pretty much immune to it. Moro notices this and knows that things are getting bad. So he makes a beeline for 7-3, ready to eat him. He lunges towards the android, with his mouth open. But just as he's about to grab 7-3, he's scathed by a massive attack, a light grenade from Piccolo that just incinerated 7-3. Moro's trump card has been erased. and the rest of the escaped prisoners are getting caught or defeated. More energy is taken from him as he gets older and older. Moro is rapidly losing energy as he drops to his knees. As he looks up, he sees Bardock and his 3 kids standing over him. Mayris watches nearby, amazed to see what's happening. Moro is furious, but he has one way out. He charges up a bunch of energy, ready to directly attack the planet, taking out everyone with him. And if he's lucky enough, he may even survive this. But just as he lifts his hand up, a keyblade goes right through it, and he sees Raditz sticking his arm out. Raditz decides that he'll do the honors, and with his other arm, he creates another keyblade, going right through Moro and instantly killing him. Their work here is finally done. Thankfully, with the Dragon Balls, they're able to restore all the damage that he did. And luckily, Mayris gets to live here, continuing to stay undercover at the Galactic Patrol. Beerus and Whis were watching the whole time as well. They were interested to hear what's happening, and they're glad to see that everyone made it out okay. Their students have really made some great progress. And now, the group returns home. There is one thing that I do want to mention though. It hasn't really started yet, but eventually, Bardock's rapid aging would begin. If he's not at that point already, he'll definitely be there soon. He can feel it. He tries to get that Ultra Instinct power again, but it's kinda tough. Goku continues his training and is eventually able to unlock it at will, as he goes on the path to mastering it. Raditz and Vegeta try to do the same, but they notice that Bardock's sort of falling behind. He's getting rustier, and he knows exactly what it is. He's finally reaching his limit in terms of age, so why not quit while he's on top? He thanks Beerus and Whis for all that they've done, but says that it may finally be time for him to retire fighting. He did it his whole life, so it would be nice to spend the rest of it relaxing on Earth, at home with Gine and the rest of his family. The good thing is he'll still be able to see Goku and Raditz a lot. While he's not training, Instant Transmission will still let him teleport there whenever he needs. And while the two didn't really like each other before, he and Vegeta are on much better terms now. It's crazy how far they all came. And funny enough, it's all thanks to Frieza. Had he not destroyed Namek, Bardock, Gine, and Ruta would have never met Kakarot, and they would have never gone to Earth. It's weird how it all works out like that. But he's pleased. He could tell that generation, as well as the generation after that with his grandkids, they're all gonna be fine. He's lived a good life as a Saiyan. But now, he kinda wants to enjoy Earth life. His kids and everyone around them made him proud. And it's good that he no longer has to be at war all the time. He departs from Beerus' planet, returning home. Gine welcomes him back again, with Chi-Chi surprised to hear that he's finished training. And of course, his pal Ox King is there too. And of course, Ruta's still on Earth. He'll be able to see her whenever, as well as all his grandkids. But for now, it may just be time for him to sit back and relax at home, cracking open a can of Heat-Tap with Ox King, enjoying some nice time with Gine and his grandkids. This is so much better than Planet Vegeta. And I think with that, this is a good spot to finish off this series. So, what did you guys think about this series? If anything happens next, what do you think it'll be? And what was your favorite thing about it? Leave any thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what everyone thinks. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video. If you haven't already, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future uploads on my channel, including videos like this one or possible continuations to this scenario. As always, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting this scenario, and I'll see you all in my next video.